a soldier, an airman, and a Marine walk into a room. This show is the punchline. My name is Ryan Smeltz, and you're watching Veteran Talk Show.
All right, guys. So in case you don't know, we are an affiliate for Soldier Girl Coffee Company. I'm super excited about this because they have amazing coffee. And in future episodes, you will see us drinking Soldier Girl coffee. They also have a CBD coffee. So if you need some CBD, which helps support your health in a sense of relaxation, it helps with your sleep and your overall health on a day-to-day basis, then Soldier Girl Coffee has both that and the caffeine you need. So be sure to check out the link in the show notes. Go ahead and click that, shop around, and make sure you get yourself some Soldier Girl Coffee today. I want this show to be about the people who are on it. Mm-hmm. You know, I want it to be relax. You know, I don't like using the word therapy, but kind of a space where if you want to come on here and talk about life now or life in the military, before, after, whatever, and then eventually we'll have it so people can join us virtually.
Nice.
He's still on the edge about that, but
yeah, I don't like social media.
Do you have a bottle opener?
I got a lighter. I do have a bottle.
It tastes better out of a bottle. Max is a good boy. Joe
What's
said
up,
that
cutie?
pretty sure. But he's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah.
Hi.
Ain't that right?
That's Millie.
This is Millie.
Millie, yeah. Millie's the old.
And this one is, again, Durango. He's the size of one. Yes, you're the size of one.
Durango's like, yep, you're my new favorite person.
So where'd you drive from?
Bun Level.
Where?
Oh, Bun Level.
Where? I'm from North Carolina. I don't
Dude,
know
you
Bun.
talk about Nash County being middle of nowhere.
Where the fuck is Bun
You know
Level?
where Lillington is?
I know where Lillington is.
I'm 2 miles from Lillington.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like an unincorporated area?
We have a Dollar General.
That does not mean anything.
Dollar General doesn't identify anything because they're everywhere.
So what brought you to North Carolina?
I joined the Army.
And you were stationed at Vietnam?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I
sorry.
PSYOP. So
You were PSYOP?
Oh,
14 years.
Cool.
This is where I've been stuck.
My buddy, I had him on a little while ago.
Great White Buffalo.
No, Charles Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
Not the Great White Buffalo.
No, if we refer to him, you got to whisper.
Yeah.
Great White Buffalo. Great White Buffalo. So he started in the Marines, went to the Army, and became a warrant officer.
And then he was a pilot, and then he became a paper pusher.
Yeah.
I made fun of him for that, which is funny because I'm not a pilot, so I feel
yeah.
So you were PSYOPs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Secret squirrel shit over there.
Charles does does civil affairs. What did you do?
Pretty much went out with civil affairs all the time. I did. I was a one-man PSYOP team when I was in Iraq.
Oh,
When were you there?
From 06 to 08.
Okay. Well, we were there at the same time. 08 is when he was there and I was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just two different. What part of Iraq were you in?
Warhorse. Diyala Province, Bakuba.
Out south? Southern Iraq?
Oh shit.
Yeah. Down there, down the south.
Nope.
You were in Baghdad, so you had it pretty easy.
We went over to Butler Range at one point and coming back.
Alien bar, baby.
I think I told this story once on the show. We were coming back and this our lead truck was taking us down Route Irish, and we ended up hitting Black Route Irish. And
I don't even remember the route names from. I remember the route names from Afghanistan.
I don't even remember those.
I can remember because they were just such where I was in Afghanistan, it was all dirt road.
Where were you at in Afghanistan?
Southern Helmand. I was down past Lakari, like in the Lakari Bazaar area.
I started off in Salerno, and then I had to go to Warrior to take over for the Polish, and then I went up to Shank at the end.
Yeah, so you were up in like the northeastern part of the country. Yeah, I was down. I was in the River Valley, like where we were getting into contact every day.
That was Warrior. Excuse me, Warrior. Southern Gosney.
Yeah. I was down in Hellman, and they were like, we were in the River Valley, and they were like, you're never. And the River Valley was only like 2 kilometers wide, and you had the river on the west side, and then desert past that, and then you had the green, like what we called the green zone, because that's where all the farmland was. It was green, and then on the east you had the more desert. It wasn't green because it was like safe. It was not green, but it was like it was just called we just called it the green zone. And like we were all strung out along like that eastern side. The Taliban at one point was like, "You're never going to touch the Helmand River," and people were like. Yeah, there were guys that were like, fuck that. We're going on a patrol down the Helmand River. That's where we're going fucking today. We're going to walk the 2 kilometers over there and the 2 kilometers back. Let's fucking do this.
Oh, Lord.
I had one guy, I think he took a video of it. But he told us, he's like, yeah, I went down there, took my boots off, was dancing in the Helmand River. Like, yeah, motherfuckers, I'm here. I'm touching it. Like, he was like, yeah.
Oh, Lord. I never got the pleasure of going.
Afghanistan, I like that. Like scenery wise, Afghanistan was much nicer than Iraq.
Yes, it was.
I mean, and I wasn't even in the mountainous region. I mean, I'm sure up in the mountains
it was gorgeous.
Yeah, just like if there wasn't,
but it was gorgeous. Yeah. When I first got there, it was the middle of the winter, and 82nd, of course, did their notorious pissing people off. They pissed off the Polish at Warrior.
That sounds like 82nd.
So the Polish ripped up everything overnight and left. There was no housing, no electricity.
Yeah, they just like, fuck you,
like,
I'm out.
They were, we're sleeping on the concrete floors in the office that we got from the Polish PSYOP. And luckily we became friends with the MI from the Polish, so we got their compound. And then me doing my drug deals was able to get Floor to come in and build us.
Wait, let's rewind this. Drug deals?
Oh, coffee and chocolate.
Oh, okay.
Coffee and chocolate.
So when you say drug deals in Afghanistan, it's like where I was in Afghanistan, it wasn't anything to see a dude walking down with like 2 50-pound bags of liquid heroin, just black tar, opium.
Or going through the fields and coming out covered in it.
Oh yeah, we had to go scrape bulbs off of poppy one day.
Oh wow.
To help one of the farmers to build quote unquote relations. I was like, this is what you tax.
And then turned around and had to burn it down.
Nope.
No.
Never burned a pot field or a poppy field.
Wow.
That was going against building relationships with.
Mm-hmm.
However, when we caught him walking with black tar heroin, we're like, you can't have that.
I mean, for me, drug deal is a common phrase in the Army used for tit for tat.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. We did. I mean, it might be
all the time now, and people look at me funny. I told Chris the other day down at the warehouse I was like, "Hey, I also told Brian, the manager at the storage units. I was like, "Hey, that drug deal we talked about," and he looked at me funny.
See, we didn't negotiate shit. We were just like, we would call it, at least in my unit. I don't know if this is Marine wide, but we would be like, "Oh, there's an Army unit over there. We're going to go recon them."
Oh,
and that just meant that's just like they've got nice shit. We're going to go take it.
So I feel like in military to military units, you often saw stuff like that where we called it either steal, strategic transfer of equipment to an alternate location.
Yes.
Or a tactical acquisition.
Yeah, we called it tactical.
We're going to go tactical acquisition, and the theory was if you didn't secure it.
Gift to drift is a gift.
Unsecured, unintended.
Yes,
so we would go tactically acquire shit. Like that's what we would call it. It wasn't a drug deal. It was like we're going to go tactically acquire this.
Yeah, but when you
don't ask me questions of how I got it
or the knowledge to run electricity and all that, or hook up those huge HVAC systems that I kind of acquired from the SF guys.
In confusion, there is profit.
See, difference between acquiring and drug deal.
No,
drug deal, the other person is involved.
We had some when we flew into Leatherneck. We met some Brits out because Bastion and Leatherneck were pretty much the same thing. And we met some Brits, and they were like, "You guys want to trade?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Cool, we'll come by your tent. Where are you guys at?" And we're like, "Oh, so like we left the chow hall, and these guys like 2 hours later came by with like 4 dudes, and they just had bags of shit, like their shit that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what do you want to trade for like this thing? So I got like a British cami uniform, which because they were way nicer. Like they breathed a lot better than the digis that we had because we didn't have frog gear at that point. This was when frog gear was still relatively new.
I don't even know what you're talking
The frog gear where it has like the sleeves, and then you've got that. It's got the digi sleeves, and then
our combat blouse.
Yeah,
we called it frog gear.
No, I called it a combat blouse.
So we for the most part wore our regular digis. Like that's what we wore.
Because we were egotistical, so they put U.S. Army in the center of it.
And it was retarded.
And it was kind of stretchy a little bit.
Yeah. That we called that frog gear. That's what we called it.
I
just
had no idea.
Combat blouse.
That's what because we called everything a blouse. So it was like this was, your camis were your camis, and that's what you wore. And but these Brits show up to our tent, and we're sleeping in there with all of our, because I was on the Advon, and I remember one of the officers in the Advon was like, who the fuck are you guys, and why the fuck are you here? And this like young British guy has no idea this is an office. Like, oh mate, we just want to try it. Like, it's my terrible British accent. If you're British, I'm sorry.
That sounded a little more Australian.
Yeah, well,
we just want to trade.
We just want to trade. And he just like starts dumping shit out in front of this like lieutenant. He's like, and the lieutenant's like, he's looking at, and this is his first deployment. He's a lieutenant, and he's like, we're like, we got like one of the sergeants walks up to him. I won't say his name. He's like, we got this, sir. And he picked up something. He's like, oh man, this is nice. I got an extra poncho liner. I'll trade you. They're like, fuck yeah, you take for a poncho liner. I'll like give you that. And like these things. And we were just like trading shit.
The whoopee.
Yeah. They had some sweet shit, man.
Yeah.
I was happy just to get their MREs.
Their MRE? Yeah. Did they have the brandy in it back then?
Yeah. And in the French ones, in the breakfast, there was wine and champagne.
Yeah. They had little airplane bottles. Man. They had little airplane bottles of like brandy or cognac or something in them in their MREs. And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And it was good.
Yeah. Wasn't like that sweet veggie omelet.
Oh, hey. Veggie omelet was my favorite. When
God. Training. What is wrong with you?
Candy.
You are not real.
You are not a real. You were never
I don't know. I was preparing myself to eat with the locals. I don't know. I liked it.
That was so. The veggie omelet was by far one until they came out with the granola.
She's the only person I've ever heard say that.
So when
out loud,
like halfway through our deployment to Afghanistan, they started putting like their granola in there.
Mm-hmm. And the Ranger bars.
Yeah. And so that's when everybody started wanting the veggie omelet. They didn't eat the veggie omelet. They wanted the granola.
Yeah, but before they did that,
because the
veggie omelet had the good candy in it.
Chili Mac was the one we fought over.
I don't remember Chili Mac.
Mac, like we would start fucking fights over, because Chili Mac had the Skittles, it had the pound cake, it had, I can still remember this.
Oh my God.
It had the lemon poppy seed pound cake, it had the jalapeno cheese, and I think
it checked all the boxes.
It checked all the boxes. Yeah, and then you had Chili Mac, so you heat the Chili Mac up.
Until you went to the latrine later.
Well, I mean, that was going to happen no matter what.
You pay for it. Yeah. Okay? You get what you pay
but it also had the like 2 hot sauces in it, because it was like the only one that had both the red and green hot sauce.
And then they stopped putting the bottles in there because people started making bombs out of MRE.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, MRE bombs. Loved them. We used to fuck with the Iraqi police with them all the time. We'd make tear gas bombs. So we were Overwatch on a VCP that ran over the bridge over the Euphrates. And the IPs were at the checkpoint. And we would send like 2 Marines down there to like just log cars that were going through. And the IPs were supposed to stop and search all the cars. They never did this. Most of the time they just slept and, did their Man Love Thursday shit in
IPs.
There. Yeah, they were terrible. And so we would have, like, they would call us and they'd be like, you should be training the IPs and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, first of all, we're not Green Berets. Our job is not to train local forces. That's not what we're trained to do. And so we'd go in and they'd be like, oh, sleep. We'd try and wake them up. They'd be like, lesh. And, and I'd just be like, get the fuck out. So what we started doing was we started getting the empty bottles of water and putting the hot sauce and the pepper in there and then dumping the MRE stuff, tightening the bottle and tossing it into the tent.
Oh my God.
And so it was a little tear bomb. And so we toss it in there and it'd blow up and they'd come running out like, We'll be like, all right, you're awake. Do your job. We're leaving soon, so.
And then we built a fire pit out of expended 155 rounds, and they couldn't get it to light. And I was like, wait a minute, there's coffee creamer in MRE.
Oh yeah.
A lot of these guys didn't realize that coffee creamer is extremely flammable.
Yeah.
So I was like, here, and they just look at me like I was crazy, and I sprinkled some coffee creamer on it. And I lit it
Hand
right up.
sanitizer. That's how we used to start.
Mhm.
We used to pour hand sanitizer on shit if we needed to start something. We didn't have JP8 or diesel. We pour a little bit of hand sanitizer on it, light it.
And then I'd be like, or like cotton ball and Vaseline.
Yep.
And they just looked at me and they're like, you're crazy. That doesn't.
I remember we took this like 3-story building. It was like the only 3-story building, and First Platoon was occupying it. And we were resupplying First Platoon one night on foot because that's the only way we had to do it. So we were walking shit down to them. And we walk in, and their platoon commander's like standing there. It's like, step this way. And we're like, sir, what's going on? He's like, oh, we made some homemade claymores because we didn't have enough explosives to secure the entire perimeter. Because there's like 4 or 5 entrances to this place. And there was this little, like, the engineers had like rigged up this thing.
Flour?
I don't know what they put in it, but it was like, it was an MRE sleeve that they had like folded down and like covered. And like put like some like fucking like what the deck cord to attach to it, and it was on a tripwire right in front. I was like, "What's packed in there?" And they're like, "Confetti." And I'm like, "What is that going to do?" He's like, "Look, we ran out of shit. This is just to alert us if someone comes in this door."
Oh my god!
And I'm like, that's going to
what
be
you yell when it goes off.
Happy birthday. But they had other ones that had like broken glass in this compound that like the few windows that they had or mirrors, they like broke those things and like broke down the pieces and put them into the other bombs that they had. And they put these bombs all around the perimeter. And so, cause they just had, I think they had like one claymore, like one actual claymore. And so like, they were like, this is a squad in this building, and it is a 3-story huge ass like compound.
Yeah.
There's no way we can like secure it.
So I feel like I was, pretty lucky. I was an MP.
Mm-hmm.
So
you never learned how to make tear gas bombs out of fucking MREs. How would you consider yourself lucky?
Because we had them. We had the real ones.
Yeah,
we didn't have to make anything because, an MP team normally has the same firepower as an infantry squad. So if we wanted more grenades, we just went to the ammo cans in the back and got more.
I think we were each given like one actual like grenade to walk around with.
I don't even remember having. Oh no, we did.
I had 2 or 3 as a team leader.
I had 203 grenades. I had like 40 something. Like I had like 40 203 grenades that I would walk around with.
We acquired ours. It was like,
I feel like she was worse than the MPs.
I probably was.
Dude, look.
I had my own shoe when I was in Iraq. What do you mean?
You had your own shoe?
Chew.
Oh, chew.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
everybody else was quadrupled up and 6 to 8 people, and then there's me, and they're like, "Who's your roommate?" Me. You have that huge
we had
all to yourself.
The lower enlisted females, they would take the larger rooms that were meant for the NCOs, and they would cram 3 of them into there.
Yeah, not me. Nobody wanted to stay with me. They didn't.
Here's your room for 3rd squad. That's where you're staying tonight. Sleep on the wall and the floor. Like that's when we were inside. We're like, yeah.
The carpenters, they built me a bed, dresser.
Didn't have, I remember when
I had the hookup.
We got tents, but we had no cots, so we just slept. We got tents for each squad, so each squad could take a tent. And then for the first couple of weeks, we just slept on the floor in the tent, and that was like. And then they finally brought us cots down. We're like, fuck yeah.
Were they broken?
Yeah.
I was gonna say
all the way.
Yeah, but it was better than sleeping on the ground at that point because, like, we could like take your sea bags and like use your sea bags as like support beams. We came in. We engineered some shit.
That's what my beds were made of. They made a frame for me, and then I went and grabbed a bed mattress and just threw it on top of my broken cot.
We took over. So we came into Cropper when we worked that for a month and a half. I was 07, 09 rotation. Mm-hmm. So We went into Cropper, worked it for a month and a half. We had a tent, but we were taking over spaces that were already had units in them. So we were ripping behind someone. So we had in the tent, I want to say it was maybe bunk beds.
Probably, yeah.
But
they generally
I
do
was
those
a team
bunk
leader,
beds.
so they assigned 2 of us to one, and I'm like, I'm sleeping on the bottom. He's
So
like, but
I
don't
tell
wanna sleep
people
on
in
the bottom.
Iraq, I was in like the Connex boxes.
Yeah, that's the chew.
Yeah, they slept. You could sleep 6 guys in one Connex box, and we had
Or one female.
Or one
we didn't have
female.
females, so it wasn't a big deal for us.
Well, I was
We did
on,
have one guy who incessantly masturbated, and we were like, "Dude, go to the shitter and do that." And he's like, "No," and he would
I
put
think
up
I
this.
could handle the masturbation over the peeing in the bottles that never gets thrown away.
Oh yeah, we did that a lot.
Because see, that's
We
his
would
own
do that and then
pussy
chuck 'em at
box and
people.
stuff.
That was kind of
But
the
when
fun
you
thing.
got bottles of urine just towered up like empty beer cans, that's like
Well, your only other option was to walk it to the burn pit. Man, that was far away. Well, for me, it wasn't far away. It was just on the other end of the freaking over by the ECP. Starting the fucking burn pit was a bitch and a half.
luckily for me it was already started, but I had to stand there until everything was burned.
Oh no, we started it and ran. Like we would start it and then we would load it up with JP8 and diesel. And then we can't remember if it was the diesel, I think it was the JPA. We'd like draw a line through our like from the vehicle entry point to our ECP. We'd stand there, we'd light it, we'd just watch
you'd
it go across
watch
a
it
little
go.
gravel lot.
All I
And-
can think of when I see that is like little cartoons like Tom and Jerry and all that where they're lighting the fire.
Yeah, because we would put shit in there. I mean, you'd have used batteries, you'd have all the kitty litter bags, you'd have all of it in there. And I mean, it smelled something
Oh yeah.
awful. And I mean, it was 20 yards away from us, 30 yards away from us.
I have no idea where our burn pits were or how they managed trash on
You
That was
VDC.
never
where-
had to deal with them.
We were on
Fucking
VDC, so I'm
pogue.
sure they existed, but
God.
Yeah, you weren't a big base though, where you probably had like trash pickup and all that shit.
I have no idea.
Did you throw something away and then that disappeared magically?
Yeah.
Oh
All right.
my God.
Yeah. Pogue life, man. Let me tell you. Woohoo.
Victory Base Complex was like Fort Hood of Iraq. We had Toby Keith, we had Cinnabon, we had Taco Bell.
They did.
You had Toby Keith?
They
We had Paul Wall in Kuwait.
okay. So when
We
I
had
was in
American
Iraq-
Gladiators in Iraq. And I'm like, first of all, is American Gladiator still a fucking thing at this point? This is 2008, people.
we had the 82nd band.
I don't even know what that is.
The 82nd All American.
Oh,
Army
the
band.
division. They had a band.
They have a
Oh,
band.
that sucks.
They sent us the band where everybody else had.
Well,
Which
the
is-
the American
Big wigs.
Gladiators didn't even show up to really see us. They showed up so in our Cobb, there was an inner base of SEALs.
Oh yes.
Oh, so
And
they
so
showed up
they
for
showed
that.
up to see the SEAls.
And they were like, "Oh, you're here."
And they're like, "Oh, there are other people here." And we're like, "Hi." And we're like, "Who the fuck are you?" And they're like, "Oh, we're American Gladiators." I'll never forget this. My buddy looked at one of them and goes, I haven't seen an American Gladiator since I was 5. Is it even still on? And she was like, "Yeah, I'm one of them." And she's like, "No,
No.
you're fucking with me." Like he like legitimately was like, what seriously, what branch are you in? And she's like, "No, I'm part of the USO." And he's like, "No, you're not." It's like American, like if you were part of USO, you'd come up with something better than American Gladiators, a show that hasn't been on in 25 years.
So Amanda, what did
Yes.
the 82nd band play?
Christmas music. That was our Christmas present.
Oh, okay.
You know, the traditional dried turkey, boiled beef of some kind.
We got steaks for Thanksgiving. That's what we got.
Yeah.
And we had no way they literally dropped off steaks off of a helo.
And
Was
then
it steaks or veal?
It was steak.
Okay.
And they were like, "Here's some steak for Thanksgiving dinner." And they flew out, and this is Afghanistan. And so they flew the fuck away. We're like,
I made friends with local nationals,
how the fuck?
and
we
I
did-
would
yeah.
piss everybody off because I would have fresh food.
Oh,
I had a goat, and I
Drug
got to
deals.
find the picture.
when we
of
took
it.
the Lakari market, it was like, we're going to go on a patrol. We'd walk into the market with like $2 of like American dollars, and we come back with like,
I wouldn't even buy anything; they would just give it to me.
oh, not down Lakari. You had
I
to buy
mean,
shit.
I would walk out
For
there,
$2?
and they would
$2,
get
you'd
a
come back
lot.
for with a fuck ton of stuff.
If you go out to the actual markets in the villages,
Yeah.
$2 will buy you a lot.
Yeah, we would come back with like 7 bags. So they had these fried potatoes in the Lucari Bazaar that were so fucking good. So good. Like the only thing we could ever really get for free was like chai and naan, which
Well, don't forget about the kilo of sugar to go with the chai.
yeah. But that was really the only, everything else we had to pay for. But they had like wrapped candy and all that, like you would in any convenience store. It's just a different
Brand.
and version of it that you can't read. It's like North Korean or whatever.
You couldn't get off of VBC. Just you had to have a mission brief and a convoy.
Oh no, this
You
we
couldn't just
literally.
leave.
Oh, no.
No.
I had a PSYOP girl down there that got kicked out because she found a way.
Well,
No, we
sure.
would
There
literally.
was also a rumor of a whorehouse right outside one of the East.
Oh, every base had
But
a warehouse.
I don't know.
Leatherneck and Leatherneck. They actually the Ukrainian haircutting people were running a prostitution ring.
I'm
over
going to
that.
give you guys credit because that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, the
That's serious.
Ukrainians who were there.
That's serious.
The,
I think
the
they were
rumor
Ukrainians.
was guys would like, I guess, jump the wall or whatever. But the main reason it was so locked down is because Irish was right outside the gate. BIOP was there. So if you were U.S. military and you just walked off base, unless you had connections or a plan or something like that, you were risking.
Well, so
getting
we were in
shot.
a small. So this is Afghanistan. We were in a small patrol base. This wasn't a huge company area.
Yeah.
The highest ranking officer at this base was a lieutenant. Like that was like just.
And
to
he
give you-
was probably
So there were no
pissed off at
officers.
life.
So there was
So there were no officers.
So we would be like, all we would do is just go into them and be like, hey, we're going to go, tomorrow is bazaar day. We're going to go patrol the bazaar and build relationships.
Well, that's a great excuse to get out.
And we knew we weren't going to get shot at because literally you walked out of our ECP and then as you walked from, so you had the ECP and then you walked, I have a picture of it. I can show you guys coming back with bags like this. And the building they're walking out of is the back end of the market. It was like maybe
PSYOP and
15
CA
yards.
We're safe.
Yeah.
Even with the big target speakers we had, we were generally the safer ones because whenever they saw the patch, they knew it was either free stuff or money.
Yeah.
So people loved going out with PSYOP and CA because generally it was conventional, so it was reserves wearing the K-pop patch on the Army side. That automatically is the same patch for CA for PSYOP. They see it, they're thinking they're going to get new wells or they're going to get money for this damage and stuff like that.
So you guys are like
Whereas-
the cleanup crew.
That was CA was like the humanitarian assistance.
Yeah.
They would go out and help build schools, dig wells, get the water running. We would just go out to talk to people and do like diversion tactics, stuff like that. But we also had stickers and soccer balls and
Nice.
not when you see your soccer ball on the side of the road as IED.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we didn't have like we gave where we were all the at least in Afghanistan. Like so in Iraq, everybody wanted something from us. Everybody. Like you went on a patrol and it didn't matter. You didn't have to be SIPs. You were an American. They were going to come up and try and get something from you. And they just come up and be like, "Give me, Mister, give me." And like the kids all knew chocolate, Mr. Chocolate.
The kids
U.S.
just wanted
Marines number
pictures.
one, chocolate, Mister. U.S. Marines number one, chocolate. And I'm like, we in Vietnam? Is this like Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah, when the kids found out that I was a female, all of a sudden they wanted pictures with me.
Yeah.
They would bring me flowers. They're like,
Yeah, the
"Picture,
few times we had a
picture."
FET team come through, all the kids, and we only had FET teams in Afghanistan. That's all they wanted.
I didn't like vet teams.
I didn't either.
They were just like
What was a FET team?
a female engagement team.
Oh, you told me about those.
But to me, they were just
They wanted to be infantry.
babysitters.
They were.
That's
they
all they
wanted to
did.
be infantry.
They did not even
so
do
bad.
their job.
Yeah, they were terrible. Well,
They
okay.
didn't. All they would do was go play with the kids.
Ours would actually do medical stuff on the girls.
Would they?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the team was cool. We got along with the team. It was the woman who ran the team, like the staff sergeant or the gunny who ran the team. Like she was like, we're infantry and we're going to go on this patrol. And like our captain and lieutenants would look at this lady and go, no, this corporal or this sergeant is leading the patrol. You listen to him. He's the one who's got the experience down here. He knows what he's doing. And you're going to, and I mean, this one woman went out on patrol and we had a mission to go. She was pushing for us to go south, which was like danger zone. Like we went south. Anytime we went south, it was like, we're going to get fucking shot at. That's going to happen. So whenever we went on patrols with the FET team, we'd always go north because we just did not want to deal with getting shot at with a FET team. Like that was just.
See, my guys, even when I first went to Iraq and when I went to Afghanistan, I had to prove to these guys, because like when I went to Iraq, I was straight out of AIT and language school. I never trained with this unit before, didn't know anybody. They automatically hated me because I was dubbed the USASOC golden child. Yeah. And they did not even want me there. I was the only female. And so
our team there. They were only down with us for like 2 weeks.
They took me out. They're like, took me to the range, and they had all the weapon systems there, even AKs and a couple others. And they're like, we want to see you shoot them. I'm like, okay. I sat down. I shot them all. Little did they know, I grew up with guns.
Yeah.
My uncle is a world champion skeet shooter. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, okay.
Skeet.
Like, you know what to do with the 50 cal? And I'm like, really? Like, I'm not going to do anything with it because you don't even have the timing mechanism on it.
You don't have the headspace and timing in there, fucktard.
I'm like, so. And they just look at me like, okay, she's good. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, we didn't even do, I mean,
have to go through?
We didn't even do that. I mean, they literally landed, came in, they were like, they're going to be here for 2 weeks to engage with the local female population and gain intelligence. That's their job. Because we weren't allowed to talk.
Technically, that was PSYOP.
Well, whatever. They were,
but
I don't know if Marines have PSYOPs.
They do.
I've never met one. I mean, I know we had HUMIT, but I never met anyone in PSYOPs. That's only for warrant officers, bro. Only for warrant officers.
I mean, she said they exist.
They do. I actually met a couple of them over. I had to go on, what is it? Talisman.
I met HUMIT guys, which was just intel. I mean, they were just Marine intelligence.
I can't remember the name of the training operation over in Australia.
That's an oxymoron.
Yeah, right. But this FET team landed, and they're like, we're going to go out and engage. Like they had 2 corpsmen, I think, with them. And then and one of them was like a trained nurse. Mm-hmm. And then the others were like, they just pulled
that's
from
not what
other
the
MLSs.
Army did with the FET.
And so, but these girls came down and they were like, I guess they had heard stories of where, so up until Marja kicked off, my unit was like the main effort for the MEB in Afghanistan until Marja. And I remember we were south of Marja when it kicked off and we could see the flares at night of Marja. Like, I'll never forget, one of the squad leaders in 1st Platoon literally like symbolically went, here's the main effort belt. You guys have it. We're done. And he turned to everybody. He's like, our mission just got a whole lot easier. And he sat down by the fire and he kicked up his boots and he's like, all I need is a beer and a cigar. Our deployment's over.
You guys remember the protest at Disney in Afghanistan?
What?
Over the Qurans?
Yeah, I'll show you the picture of mine.
I was the one who had to deal with it.
I had to deal with it. They marched. We let them. So they were marching. So they came out of Lakari Bazaar.
Route Disney.
So where I was, it was Route Cowboys. They marched up Route Cowboys up to Dwyer. They were going to Dwyer, which was very far north. And so you had a huge group coming from the south out of, I can't remember what was south of Lakari. I can't remember the name of the town down there. But they were coming all from out of there, which was all Taliban held territory at this point. Yeah. Like that was, so we were like, oh fuck. And then all these people came out of the Lakari village and the Lakari Bazaar. And so they were on 2 separate sides of the route and they were trying to meet up at the crossing at the bazaar. And so we had roadblocks set up and everything. And I got pictures in that box of it. It's insane. And so one of the officers is like, all right, we're going to let these people join up with those people. It's their right to protest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I looked at him. I was like, sir, I'm not questioning your orders here. This is a fucking stupid idea. I was like, those dudes in the back they're passing something around like a grenade. It's like, well, we're going to back up and then let them through. And we're like, the minute those motherfuckers joined up, they started throwing rocks and stones at us.
Yes.
It was fucking one of my buddies, Pacheco, got a Purple Heart for this because he got knocked the fuck out in the middle of the road as the crowd is like, because someone threw a rock from the other side, like a huge, like it wasn't like a little gravel stone. It was like a fucking this big.
These things
And
were
it
not
nailed
small.
him in the fucking head. I remember looking at him as we're taking cover behind walls and buildings because we weren't allowed to shoot back because they weren't shooting at us.
Right. It wasn't
we were
considered
all-
as lethal force.
Yeah, we were all ready to just like go over the wall and straight rules of engagement these people. Like just like because it was pissing us off. But we did. And I remember looking across the street, this little road, and he is on the other side. And he's sitting there like this. And one of my other buddies is holding him up. He's like, I was like, you okay? And he's like, and he's just looking around. He doesn't know where the fuck he is. He's like, you can tell he
You got
was out of
guys
it.
who's got
He got
eyes
clogged.
split
he got-
open, busted
Dude,
lips,
I'm not. And when I say
broken
like stones, people are like,
noses.
oh, you can't handle it. I mean, the fucker was like, you could see the thing flying across the canal. Like they had to like slingshot this thing. They had slingshots, and they were like, and I mean, it was like that. I mean, it was like the size. It was like between the size of like a football and a softball. It's the best way I can describe it. And it nailed him right in the fucking head.
And see, I was up
It was
the
insane.
company because I was having to set up everything of ours to be aerosoled down to Warrior. And my first sergeant comes and gets me, and he's like, I need you to go find 2 guys to go with you, and you just gotta go out to the gate. And I'm like, what's going on? And he told me there was a riot. And I'm like, no, I want the backstory of this. What happened? And then he told me about those reserve MPs from up here in Gardner, or was it Durham or Raleigh Durham area with the MP unit.
I have no idea.
They took Qurans out of the imprisoning camp because
Oh, that's not what. So
see
that's,
that was mine.
so ours was one of the SF. There was an SF raid, and they found this thing wrapped up in a cloth, and they didn't know what it was.
And
So
then
they cut it open because it was like all tied together,
Mhm.
not knowing because they were like, oh, we found money or maps or what, and they cut it open and they like cut into the Quran,
Oh yeah,
and so that kicked off.
ours was a little worse because
And then they said, well, so the Taliban took it and then like took a bunch of Qurans and burned
that's
them.
our guys did. The MPs did. They took the
see, I was told
Qurans
was like the
out of
town
the prison and then took it to the burn pit and had the local nationals that were working the burn pit
burn them.
burn them. And when they refused to do it, the private was brand new.
Yeah.
He didn't know what to do, so he got some mass sergeant came over, and the mass sergeant went off and pulled guns on them and kicked them off and started burning these.
See, I
Qurans
was
in
told
front
that. So this was 2000 and I can't. This is end of 2009, 2010.
see,
is when
mine
this
was 2011, 2012.
Yeah, this is end of 2009, 2010.
This is the when Hillary Clinton was saying that those protests that I was dealing with were caused by that
Which is
pastor
bullshit.
down in Florida.
Oh,
with
the video?
videos,
Yeah, that was
which
bullshit.
had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with it.
That was bullshit. I know guys who were on a MEU in the med,
Mhm.
and they were ready to go into Benghazi, and were basically told
Yep.
to stand the fuck down.
But no, and
They were able to. They were talking to
the people.
well, not directly, but like the people who were there were talking to someone who was talking to the guys on the ship, the Marines on the ship, and the Marines on the ship were like loading up, like, all right, all they knew was an embassy was under attack.
I was watching it in the talk.
Yeah, and they knew the embassy was under attack, and I think at this point they knew the ambassador had died, and so they were like, all right, we're going in, we're going to go land, and we're going to go fuck shit up. These were guys I was with in Afghanistan, and they were waiting for helos, and they were in full-on combat
stand
mode,
down.
and they were told to stand the fuck down.
But no, it was, and then when I got up there with
And
the
that's
guys,
that's why I was like, I'm never voting for the Clintons ever. And I'm a pretty liberal guy for the most part. Like I have some conservative views, but yeah, never voting for them. Fuck them assholes.
but that's when I decided I didn't like the Air Force. I was already jealous of their living quarters and their
Everybody,
defects and
yeah.
everything. But when I got there,
And that's why the Coast Guard doesn't say shit, because I'm like, well, we shouldn't tell everybody
Yeah.
how we actually live.
I
I want
had
to know how the Coast Guard lives, because it's got to be way better than the Air Force.
talked about it. Now everybody wants their shit.
Mhm. And I was like, so who's in charge here? Because I need to know how you guys are setting up the perimeter for security. This chick was a master sergeant, whatever it is for the Air Force rank, our equivalent of an E8. She didn't know. They never set up T-walls. They never set up concertina wire. They never did that. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Bamsis.
So I'm telling them what to do and what equipment needs to be brought up. And I'm like, this is your entire reason of being here. And next thing I know, I go back to the company to get more guys and stuff. And I come back. My guys that I left there have the Air Force riot gear. They have their shotguns. They have all the dildo rounds. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? They're like, they put us in charge. And I'm like, oh my God.
And this is still about the riot, right?
And I mean, it's bad. They're burning up everything out front. They're trying to get on the installation.
So the MPs to fuck shit up.
The riots where I were, I mean, they literally passed through.
Yeah.
Because I remember I tried.
It's like the 525 or something.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
The riot I was, they literally just walked and marched up to Lashkar Gah.
They walked. They marched. They lit fires. They were scaling walls.
Before we let the two groups.
The reason I say that is because wasn't the MPs at Abu Ghraib?
No, that was long before that. Abu Ghraib was like 0405.
It was either Bravos or Echoes though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
typical.
Same unit.
Can't have nice shit, you know.
But it was bad, and then I'm frustrated. I call my commander.
See, they didn't burn anything because before we let the two groups on either side of the route like join up, we were talking to like the imams and the elders, and we were like, look, we're going to let you guys pass. But we told them flat out, we're like, we get what you're doing. We get why you're protesting. You've got every right to do it. Because as far as we knew, what happened was the story that was at this point going around was they sliced the Quran open, realized that they had cut into the Quran, and then they burned it.
And they didn't, and you got to dispose of them.
Yeah. And so they thought they were doing, so this was the story we were told, or that everybody was told. Come to find out, all they had done was slice the Quran open, realize what they had done, given it back to the local, and were emphatically sorry about it. And then the Taliban took it and burned it and said, look what the Americans are doing. Mm-hmm. And then spread that all over the place. And then that's what led to our protest.
Yeah. So we set up a line. We're like, look, they cross this line. This is the line where lethal starts.
Yeah.
We're not playing this game.
We basically told them, was like, you can march, but the minute someone produces a weapon or there's an explosion, it's fair game for anybody in this crowd.
What got pathetic though was Air Force kept pushing the line back.
Oh, we did
further, and I'm like, okay.
Well, we had such a reputation at that point. Like the Taliban on the radio would so the local guys, we became so lethal at what we were doing. The local guys would be on ICOM and they'd be like, we see the Americans, we're going to shoot at them, blah blah blah. And they would do that for the entire patrol and never do anything. It got so bad that the local Taliban brought in guys from Pakistan to quote unquote show us show the locals how to fight us. And we kicked their ass so bad that the leader of the forces there was recalled to Pakistan and beheaded. Because we fucked them up. Seriously, the day after that firefight happened, there were flags all over the AO of how many people we fucking killed. Of how many Taliban fighters died. It was the largest firefight I was ever at. And we fucked them up. And then after that, Taliban was like, we're done. We're not fighting these guys. They're fucking crazy. They're going to kill us. So we would walk around, we'd hear it, and occasionally someone would come out and shoot us.
Yeah.
And then they would really quickly die.
I had one of my guys, he went on and had to do a diversion. So he and his team, and then he had the MI from Texas, one of their teams with him, Human. And they're out there and they were doing a diversion.
I liked the Human guys. I thought they were so fucking cool.
So he started blaring Michael Jackson Thriller on his speaker system and started doing the dance. And everybody thought that was the craziest thing. Well, everybody in the village wants to come see the other village idiot.
We would bless. So we found a PA system.
Yeah.
We put it up in our patrol base, and we would use it for like a paging system.
Yeah.
We'd be like, so and so, come to the COC. third squad leader, come to the COC. You'd go, but there would be times when they would the Taliban would try and taunt us through speakers. So they would start not at prayer time, but they would go into the mosque and be like, we're going to scream out that we're going to kill the Americans, blah, blah, blah. So they'd start doing something random like that. And you knew it wasn't prayer time because there was only one mosque doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would just be like, all right. And we'd throw on Pantera and just blast it.
You have to.
And we would just be like, and we guys would be on post and they'd take their Kevlars off and they'd be like, ah! They would just be headbanging like Cowboys from Hell. We'd put on Disturbed and Slayer and shit. Just the most fucked up sound we could think of to make these guys be like, all right, if you want to talk shit, this is what you're gonna get back at it.
During prayer time in Iraq.
Prayer time was awful.
We didn't have a speaker system or anything, but we
didn't in Iraq either.
So we ran our primary mission after we were done doing the Cropper thing for a month and a half was just dead ops. So my platoon was primarily the high value guys, so Compound 5. Take them out to court. They hold court sessions, bring them back, and we rotated squads doing that. So when we took them out to the courthouse, the Iraqi High Tribunal, we would stay there for a week, a month, whatever, while their court proceedings were going on. It was pretty sweet because I had the night shift, so I didn't actually have to take them up to the courtroom and stuff, and they slept most of the time anyways. So just doing our rounds and guarding stuff, but when it went off, we would just go inside where we couldn't hear it.
We hated prayer time not because it was something to be afraid of or we thought we were going to get that. The problem with prayer time for us, especially in Iraq, really wasn't a problem in Afghanistan because the mosques were so far spread out.
Yeah.
You could really only hear one, maybe two of them at a time. But in Iraq, when you're in a jam-packed city, it's like my wife and I were watching a movie at one point. It's it sounds so beautiful, and I can't believe you didn't like this. I was like, well, you don't understand. It's not like the movie soundtrack where it's just one guy doing a prayer that the whole city can hear. It's fucking 50 mosques all at one time doing 50 different things on a loudspeaker.
Like Pantera,
and it's you can't
Michael Jackson and the Beatles,
all playing all at once as loud as humanly possible. And you're like, I don't. We went to the Strawberry Festival.
Spoke the language, you'd be like, I don't know what's going on.
So when we first moved to Louisiana, I'll never forget this. We went to Louisiana and we just started living there, and we went to Ponchatoula, which is a city or a town, and they have a thing called the Strawberry Festival. We're like, oh, this will be cool. It wasn't. So, but
disclaimer.
I mean, if you live it and you love it, I mean, go for it. But first of all, the collection of people that is there, you've got Cajun people, you've got outlaw bikers, you've got hippies. It's just a weird collection of people. Then you've got a bunch of stages, all kind of right next to each other in the center of town, in the park, in the city center. And there's 5 stages, and there's 5 different bands playing at the same. There's you've got rap band on here, you've got country band on here, you've got a rock band over here, and they're just playing at the same time, and they're literally almost right next to each other. And I remember looking at her and going, "This is what prayer time in Iraq sounds like." I was like,
"You asked, this is it.
This is pretty much what go stand in the center of the park and just stand there and listen to it all. This is what it sounds like."
What I hated the most in Iraq was all of a sudden the streets clear.
Oh, yeah, when that shit happened, you were like, yep, something's about to happen.
You're out on a mission and everything's jam-packed bumper to bumper, and all of a sudden everything's just dead. Stops. Just
Well, the Marines in Al Anbar, they did not, they saw a convoy coming. We would barrel through the middle of the street, and if there was a car 100 yards,
you hit the car.
Yeah, he would. If he didn't pull over, we would wave the little flag at him when he was 300 yards out. If he got within 200 yards, we'd fire our 50 cal right over his head. And if he kept coming, he got lit the fuck up. Done. So they would see us coming. We would travel down the middle of the road, and if there was traffic, we didn't stop. The MRAP would keep going, and so it was just I remember one time I was in the lead vehicle, and I remember one time we're driving, and all of a sudden, literally right out of the side street. It wasn't a V-bid or anything like that.
It was just a dumbass.
I mean, this dumbass just comes, he stops. So what I can remember is it looked like a parked car. And then all of a sudden, I think he was just stopped there. And then all of a sudden he pulls out, but he's like 5 yards away from us as he pulls out. Like, and we're traveling at 30, 40 miles an hour. And I can hear my iDriver go, got it! And the driver just like floors the MRAP and just guns it right towards him. Because he doesn't know if this is a V-bed and he's trying to protect the rest of the convoy. And I'm just like holding on for dear life, like, okay, well, if he's a V-bed, we're all, this whole vehicle's dead. And I'm like ducked down like this because that's really all I can do.
You were the gunner.
Yeah, I was in the turret. And like,
we all took turns.
Oh, yeah.
There was times where I was like, I don't trust you driving. I'm taking over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't need a license. Be like, I'm driving this time.
It's like,
but so
no.
the driver, he gunned it and the guy saw it coming and he threw it into reverse and he gunned it back. Like smoke was coming out of the back of his tires and we barely missed him by that much. And as I'm looking out the side window of the turret, I can see him with a like white shirt with the flags like this just sticking out. And we pass by him. But like we were going to like take his car out because we didn't know what the fuck he was. But like that's how it was in Iraq on convoys. Like if you got the fuck out of our way or shit was going to go down, we were not stopping.
We had the Humvees over in Iraq and we're like, we're just going to use this to push you out of the way. So you better.
My PTS from Iraq was I can't no longer sit in traffic.
It sucks.
Because I will, she will not let me have a gun in the car. She's like, you will start shooting people for sitting at a red light and following the laws. Because I just got so used to in Iraq just being like, fuck it, drive. Like we're like, people will move for us or they'll die. That's their option.
We had it all right because we didn't have to go through a city a lot, but when we did, the guy that was always the lead truck for my squad had been to Iraq like 5 fucking times.
Yeah.
So he knew all the routes, he knew everything. And we were going through one time, and I remember, I think on the radio, I don't remember who it was. It was platoon sergeant, lieutenant, or something, made a comment about, hey, be careful, blah, blah, blah. Don't piss anybody off. And he didn't say anything back at the time, but later on he was like, yeah, fuck that. He's like, I've been in these traffic jams. I know what happens if you stop. We don't fucking stop. So when we would go through the city, we had this one thing we had to do called the green door.
Oh, that's why it tastes bad. Sorry. Food Line sold me expired beer. Like 5 months expired.
So we don't name drop often, but
fuck you, Food Line. That's why I go to Harris Teeter and I'm a proud Big Card member. Seriously, expiration date is like 12. Well, so the manufacture date, and I know how to do this because I worked in beer for a long time. I mean, this was manufactured in October of last year.
Okay.
And beer has a shelf life of like 100 days, which we're well past.
Happy 100 days.
And I'd like taste it. I was like, this tastes really weird for this beer. I like this beer. And I don't blame the brewery. This is just Food Line just selling old expired fucking beer and not going and rotating their shit on the shelf like they're supposed to. You fucking pricks.
And then writing it off and throwing it away.
Mm-hmm.
No. Writing it off and then selling it and getting double the fucking profit because they're fucking pricks.
He's upset. That's his beer. He's an IPA guy. So I did get one that was borderline close the other day. It was a 32 ounce. It was interesting. So the label was like generic. It was from the brewery. So it was down there in Fuquay.
Which one?
So
you got Painting Goat, you got the Mason Jar, you got the Aviator.
Keep going.
There's more?
Yeah.
Oh my God. How many breweries
are a dime a dozen now?
Here?
I found out I have one in Lillington.
Yeah, there's a lot of breweries now. I mean, so ironically, my wife and I moved to Colorado so I could get into the brewery world because back when we moved to Colorado, North Carolina had like 4 breweries, and they were shit.
Yeah, in Colorado it was just Fat Tire, Budweiser, Coors.
No, so Budweiser's not there. Coors is there and Golden. But at the time they had, when I moved to Colorado.
Budweiser's there. Mm-mm. When I used to live in Colorado.
Coors.
And Wyoming.
New Belgium's there. Where's Budweiser?
Budweiser is off of I-25.
You're thinking of Coors. The Coors brewery is in Golden.
Clydesdale. I'm going to have to look this up now.
I know about. I've been to the Coors one in Golden.
There's Coors, which
And then there's where's the
Golden
whiskey
was pretty
one?
cool.
Huh?
Where's the whiskey distillery there?
I worked in one.
What's-
There's a lot. So Stranahan's is in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So Stranahan's is probably one of the more popular ones.
You said downtown Colorado.
Downtown Denver. Downtown.
I used to live in Longmont. And
Oh, okay.
I
So
worked-
then you were up by Oscar Blues.
yeah, and I worked in Boulder.
Yeah, fuck Boulder.
I liked Boulder. It was
All the Trustafarians that live there.
There was a.
to me.
Hey,
There's a
peace and
rooftop.
love. We all
That's
need
what I'm
to.
saying. It's the
He said
rich. It's the
Trustafarians.
They're
rich,
Trustafarians, bro.
rich hippie.
They are like they
that
will
live
talk about
there.
how they need to do redistribution of wealth, and they'll hop in a fucking Range Rover and drive the fuck off.
That's what I call it. I
We
call
need
it
to
They're
share.
yippies.
land of the rich.
They're yippies and they're Trustafarians.
and they don't
Fuck
like
those
Colorado
motherfuckers.
University being there.
No, they don't.
They hate it. And I'm like, that
Fuck
brings in
Boulder.
almost all of your revenue.
Fuck Boulder. Fuck it. I hate
So-
it. People
so
are like, let's go to Boulder. I'm like, no.
I ate a
No.
burger at a joint there. It was on the roof.
In
I
Boulder?
don't remember what
Or in
it's called.
Golden?
Boulder.
Okay. Fuck Boulder.
Because when I was only there for I think 4 or 5 days,
Denver's way cooler.
but I could spend $3 or $5 on a ticket or whatever. And
Do you watch South Park?
Fort
at all?
Collins, Colorado.
Oh, there's a no. That's
Budweiser plant.
New Belgium. I thought was up there.
Mm-mm.
New Belgium's in Fort Collins.
Is it?
Yeah,
But yeah, I was right. It was in Fort Collins. It's Fort Collins.
didn't know there was a- I didn't know there was a-
25.
I didn't know there was an Anheuser Busch up there. I thought it was only
Mm-mm.
Colorado. Course shot.
English.
Silver bullet.
But yeah,
But there are a lot of breweries in Colorado. A lot.
I like the burger that I had at the joint there. I can't remember.
I mean,
what
they've
the
got
flavor
good
was
food.
called.
They've got good food, but the people there can
I
be.
probably
And this isn't
wouldn't
all the
stay.
people in Boulder,
Yeah.
but they are so like. Have you ever seen the episode of South Park
He said
where it's?
trust the fork.
They really are.
Did you ever go to the strip club in Boulder?
No, fuck no. I had Shotgun Willie's, which where like
Shotgun Willie's was horrible. Why didn't you go to the Diamond Cabaret?
first.
She's upset
Well,
at
because-
you for
because-
not going to the
Because
right strip
the
club.
Shotgun Willie's, A, they opened up a pot bar right next door. And then B, that's where all like the NFL
So was
Denver
Diamond.
Nuggets. I never went to Diamond.
Yeah, Diamond.
I lived like less than a mile from Shotgun Willie's. So if I was going to go somewhere,
there it is. And didn't they put a
Congress Park, buddy. Woo!
didn't Hustler build a strip club right there too by Shotgun Willie's?
I don't remember.
I think
Yeah.
you have your ear to the ground on strip clubs more than we do.
I used to go to them all the time. I managed the one in Boulder for a while.
Nice.
It was named
all
after
I can
Marilyn
look.
Monroe.
One of the greatest songs ever written was by Bloodhound Gang, and strippers always or lap dance is always better when the stripper is crying. It's one of the greatest songs ever. 10 beers, $20, 15 minutes later, I was parking the beef bus in Tuna Town.
If you know what I mean.
She let me nail her back in her trailer.
I will say, one of my friends, his best friend is one of the strippers here in North Carolina in Fayetteville. I didn't know you had to pay to become a stripper here. You have an hourly rate. You have to pay the house. You're renting the stage.
I'm not that intricate on the strip
And I'm
clubs.
like, you're kidding me. And they're like, no, it's like $40.
I've never been to a good strip club here in the Triangle
There
area.
is no strip
They
clubs
don't
that are worth
exist.
a damn here.
The only one, the one that used to be here
He
was
said
Pure
good
Gold.
Strip club.
And Pure Gold, like, all right, so the first time I ever went to this is a really weird story.
Pure Gold in Colorado
So-
was trash.
So the one that used to be in Cary,
Mhm.
and when I turned 18, some friends of mine were like, "It's your 18th birthday, we're going to take you down there." I walk in the door. So this is like really my first strip club experience too.
Oh my God.
This is going to be exciting.
So I walk in the door, and all of a sudden, some girl scream. I can hear someone go, "Ah, Joe!" And I look across the stage, and there's
Fuck
a girl
yeah.
running across. One of the strippers is running across the stage, and it takes me a minute to recognize because it's dark, and I'm not like,
Girlfriend.
no, it's not an ex-girlfriend.
I'm,
And
gonna
I'm like,
wait.
oh, we were friends in like middle school, and I heard you dropped out of high school, and this is where you've come. Oh, you're doing great, man, doing great. I was like,
Oh my
this is,
God.
this is super. It's like she started talking to me like I knew this girl in middle school, and we were friends. She was a smart girl and everything, and like I don't know what happened to her life.
Hey, some of those women can make bank in one night.
Yeah, well, all I
They
know
make
is
them
that
one
when
night
she
when
was
I
like a
make them.
freshman or sophomore, she dropped out of school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's all I know. Like after that, I'd never heard from her again until this night. And then she's like talking to me like we're best friends. And like all my friends are like, have you been here? And I have the pink shirt on that says under 18 or under 21 on it. And like, and so like all my friends and everybody in the bar is looking at me. Is like, why is this kid get to talk to one of the strippers? Like, what's going on here? Like, it was so weird. And she was like, you want a lap dance? Let's get a lap. I'll give you a lap dance. I was like, no, this is super awkward.
No, what was super awkward for me was I didn't know that the non-alcoholic side of the strip clubs in Colorado were nude.
Oh yeah. Full nude.
It was a slap in the face.
That's
a lot of beavers walking around.
Yeah, that's wherever they're non-alcoholic. If it's BYOB,
it's not
even BYOB. There's no alcohol in the building.
Oh, in Texas,
so you get drunk in the parking lot,
or you go if you're over 21, you go to the topless side.
Yeah,
but it was just
that's interesting that they have two sides.
Yeah, and then your husband.
Well, not all of them have two sides.
Brother or dad could not walk into the establishment at all, even if it was on the opposite side, and then pick you up and give you a ride home. That's considered a solicitation.
You mean the stripper?
Right.
Okay.
It was considered a solicitation, even if they were only there for like walk in, grab a drink, and leave.
All right. So here's what I have to know, as someone who's worked in strip clubs.
We get all our questions answered.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. So I used to, first of all, deliver to Shotgun Willie's too when I worked in the alcohol world up there. It was awesome because how we did our deliveries is you walked through the back door, which was right into the changing room. And so when we did our 2 p.m. afternoon deliveries, we'd walk in and the girls were fine. Be like, hi, just go see so-and-so at the bar. And they'd just be naked. And you'd be like, cool.
But first, I'm going to hang out here for a minute. How's your week going?
Talk to you. No, so okay. There's this debate I've had with a friend about strip clubs.
Okay.
This is going to be fun.
Right. And what actually happens in the back rooms versus what people think happens in the back rooms. Now, I've been in plenty of back rooms.
So you already know the answer.
Well, I don't have game, so I'm just wondering if it was me. Because I'm not paying for sex. That's just not who I am. Does that is there a lot of like paying for sex back there?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No.
Like I would have people be like, "Oh no, dude, you just need to throw like
guys can't. They
you can't touch. Like there's, and it doesn't matter where you are. It's like a big.
You touch them, you're out.
Well, I mean,
they can touch you. You can't touch them.
Yeah.
So what I was about
I've had bouncers yell at me for like I've had the girl go, put your hands on my hip, and I do it, and the guy, you hear the bouncer go, hands off, and I'm just like, oh my God, what's going on?
So I went to the one in Cary, the pure gold one.
Well, that was
it's still there.
Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Really?
We go to Upper Deck all the fucking time, and the neighborhood right below it.
What's Upper Deck? Is that the bar upstairs?
Upper Deck is the bar across the railroad tracks, but the neighborhood is below the strip club. It goes strip club, gas station, bar.
Oh, so the strip club used to be in the bottom,
but the strip club was under new management when I went there, and it was a lady walking around, and she was in jeans and like a button-down shirt tucked in. She wasn't the owner, but she was the one running the place. So a lot of these places, I mean, I could see how that might happen once in a blue moon, but they're very strict, very professional from at least that one.
I got into an argument with someone. I was like, dude, you've never been to a strip club because that's not how it works.
I've never been to a strip club, or even the raunchiest, dirty ones that I've stepped foot in, like Junction City, Kansas.
They have buffets.
But they've never.
Weird ones have buffets.
All the weird ones have
buffets.
But
I've never, ever.
Right. I've been to a lot of strip clubs across the country, and it's never been like a thing.
Right.
Like ever.
Women will
No,
I fired a couple because they would meet up with guys after work at a hotel room.
So that's happened.
That happens a lot.
That happens.
And see, my theory was you're not getting drunk on the job. You don't come in high out of your mind. No going home because that's prostitution.
Yeah.
And the strip clubs in Colorado can get shut down for that. anytime one of their girls would get in trouble, the bar would get fined.
Yeah.
So I did know
So-
a former stripper in Colorado who hooked up with a guy she met at the strip club, but it wasn't that's the same day or night or anything
Right.
like that. Like they met, like she danced for him, and then he said he saw her out like on a night off and talked to her, and they hooked up. Then,
Mhm.
But was it?
and it wasn't pay or anything.
I
They
was
just
gonna
like
say,
It was
if he
just
wasn't
consensual.
paying,
he was like they were at like literally she was not at the club. She
Right.
was out with
Because
friends.
the only time it's considered as a solicitation is if they're at the club while they're working.
Yeah, it's like, but he knew her and he walked up to her because it was like, I think it was like a 24-hour period or something where it was like the next day. And he's
Mhm.
like, hey. And they, I guess, talked and hit it off while they were doing the whole little chat before they go into the back room. I don't know what I like to call the fishing expedition.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. But I don't like strip club. When my friends are like, oh, let's go to strip clubs. I'm like,
I only like
'Cause I know it's
when
gonna
they're-
Like
happen.
it with other people.
I know what's going to happen to a strip club. I'm going to get blue balls and go home and be very depressed. Now that I'm married, I just get to come home and,
Not be depressed.
not be depressed.
I just like to go to see what the different scenes are in different states and different countries.
I will say the Pure Gold down in Wilmington when I was in infantry training. That's where we go on the weekend. There was one stripper there we loved because you could just tell she wore her emotions on her sleeve and hated it. We just thought it was hilarious. Like she was giving a guy like one of the floor lap dances, and she was like looking at her watch and about to cry. And we're like, why are you doing
Why
this?
would
And
you
like,
do this? Like, you
Because
don't want to do it.
You make good money.
that was her. Like we talked to her. We're like, why are you doing this?
Buy that, and this speaks more towards
I don't
money.
know, but
This is
The-
because
the
you're a
reason-
misogynist.
No, it's because I think it says what I'm about to say has more to do with the money management than it does how much they actually make, because they make good money. But then why don't we have all these, business leaders and professional investors who are like, yeah, I used to be a stripper and that's how I got my
you
wealth.
have some, but nobody wants to admit that that's what they
Yeah,
did.
I will say I worked
I
for
know
a person.
several that are in
who
some major organizations.
Yeah, I worked for a person who did very, very well when I was working for this girl, and she worked at a strip club.
She
in
was like,
Colorado.
I used to
Yeah,
be a stripper.
it's
She
just
was,
nothing that you're
and she
gonna
was in
put
the
on your
military. She was a
resume.
military
I
vet, so she
believe-
got out of the military, went into stripping, and then left stripping and started essentially or helped start a business and was very, very successful. Very smart
It's
woman.
like escort services.
Yes.
None of those women are going to put that down on their resume. They will just put
I mean,
like stay at
need it on
home
the
mom or a
resume. I just
nanny
need-
or something.
Hey,
Oh, I see
I-
here you were a stripper. You must have worked very hard.
I run an investment firm. I'm very successful. I'm going to teach other people how to do it. Step one,
Come a
work at a
stripper.
strip club.
Work at a strip club?
If that's how you got to where you are, and if there's more than one person that got to where they are, as that being a step
Well, I
one or
think-
step
yeah,
two,
well,
I
society
think it's
likes
all
to
about
really
the
like-
mentality.
There are some girls that I have met in strip clubs and just talking to them, like because I've been the DD more times than not, where I have to buy the bottle of water, and of course I'm sitting at the table waiting for my drunk friends to be done, and girls will come and sit down because I guess there's a rule that if you're sitting at the stage, the strippers won't sit with you.
Right.
But if you're sitting at a table,
They'll
they'll
come and
come
sit with you.
sit down with you. But I would always sit at the table before I knew this, just drinking water, waiting for my buddies to, do whatever. And there were a few times when I'm like, damn, you're actually like smart. Like you like got some intelligence about you, just talking to you for 5 minutes. The fuck are you doing here? And they're like, I pay my rent in a
one
day.
in
Mhm.
one fucking
In
day.
one fucking day. The rest of the month, she's like, there was one girl I talked to in Jacksonville at Driftwood who was like, seriously, I'm doing this for 6 months. In 6 months, I'm done. Like, and she's like, and in 6 months, I'll have enough to, because she wanted to go live overseas. And she was like, in 6 months, I will have more than enough to live for 20 years in Europe. And I'm like, bullshit. She's like, no, I literally pay for my rent in 6 hours here. The rest all goes to savings. And I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. She's like,
But
nope.
a lot of it's also the
like they
mentality
hit
of
the,
the girl.
reset
Yeah.
button on life.
Because the girl, if she doesn't enjoy it, I hate to say it like that, if she can't fake enjoyment, she can't be a stripper. Like that
Yeah.
one who just they
Wore
was paid
emotions on her
because-
sleeves.
Yeah, because guys, unless they're a misogynist, they don't want to see somebody hating what they're doing.
We were laughing at it, but we never went and got her as like a
Right.
lap dance. But we were
Yeah.
like, because we were
No,
sitting
it's,
there like,
it's true though. I feel like that's with anything.
You
If you're
wanna
not going to
see-
be genuine about it,
Yeah.
like if I go to the doctor and he's just bitching the whole time, and
Mhm.
like
You're not gonna go back.
John Mulaney does jokes about this, how he went in and the nurse was making a whole bunch of anti-work jokes, and he's like, "That's not what you want to hear from a
Mm-mm.
healthcare
Yeah.
professional." So it's the same in any industry.
Yeah,
if
it
you're there
is.
and they're not happy and they're against it, it's like,
well, there's definitely like I've run into more strippers who are smarter than what society would tell me they are.
There's a lot of them who, and that's
Like,
why they're
who
like,
are,
"Oh,
like,
let me guess,
genuinely,
you're
like-
supporting your kids, paying through college," and it's like, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I've met more strippers who will like sit down and like blow you away with how they can converse with you.
There-
And I've met like just ditzy.
oh god,
I just want to
yes.
suck dick. Oh my god, like that you don't run into
Mm-mm.
in the strip club. Like have you ever seen We Are the Millers? You ever seen that movie with?
fuck yeah.
So like Pussy Garage in that movie, the stripper named Pussy Garage, like he's got the
No,
tattoo that says Pussy Garage
No,
on
it's
it.
been a while.
Like those girls are few and far between in the strip club, in the strip industry that I've run into. They're all more like Jennifer Aniston, who's just like, I'm doing this to make some money. I'm smart, and then I'm out. Like
Yeah.
I'm done.
I love
And that's
that
what
movie.
I always laugh at people. And it's the same thing for like escort services, but they're literally, you're just paying overpriced for some chick to go on a date with you.
But you
What
pay
happens-
for a chick to go on a date with you no matter what,
Exactly.
because when you go out on a date with a girl, you pay for the date.
But
Duh.
if anything happens, that is not the company you purchased her from.
No.
responsibility. And
I've-
they
I've
have that in
never-
the
I've
contract.
always-
I'm a
I've
firm
never
believer
used-
in supply and demand. So when I graduated high school, there was
Did you have a
girl-
gaggle of horse?
Huh?
Did you have a gaggle of horse?
Gaggle of whores.
You never seen the other guys? I met this girl. You don't know that? You had a gaggle of horse. Oh, you can't grow a conscience in the pimp game.
No, so,
No one messes with the gator. You never see. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
saw that, but I mean, like
Or no, it's a stable of horse,
Normally-
not a gag. It's a stable of horse.
stable of whores.
It's the same.
So when I mentioned Mrs. Doubtfire earlier, I've seen
my
that
God.
movie 1,000 times. The other guys I haven't. So the way my
I've seen the
brain
other
works
guys
with movies-
once, but it's more recent than I've seen Mrs. Doubt. Like I can watch a movie once and,
The other guys,
and like
I
memorize it.
remember, isn't Will Ferrell the guy who's the nerd married to the super hot chick?
Yeah,
Yes.
but all the girls he's ever been with are super hot, and
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg can't figure it the fuck out.
He's like, what the
And like Will Ferrell's like they're
And
average.
desk
They're-
pop?
Huh?
I remember,
The desk pop.
Have you had your desk pop yet?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
We
haven't had
yeah.
your desk pop yet.
Like I remember like all like when he's like he's like, oh, we've got to go see my ex-girlfriend from college. And she's like super hot, but she's with like who's the comedian in there who's like not what is it? It's not is it I can't remember his name, but like her name's like Christina or something with a at the end. And he goes on this rant, it's like, you call my wife. He's like talking to Mark Wahlberg about Mark's like, what the fuck are you flipping out on me? While his wife is very clearly hitting on Will Ferrell. It was hilarious. And like he was trying to, it was those couple of scenes I remember.
That I like that movie. I like We're the Millers. One of my favorites.
I don't
is when
really
they
remember
discuss the money, and
The what?
that's a huge meme now.
what.
Discuss
You guys
money.
are getting paid.
Oh, and We Are the Millers.
You're getting this much. Oh, I'm only getting this much. You
You
guys,
guys
are getting
getting paid?
paid.
No, the thing I remember about, so I remember when he's in Mexico and he like gets pulled over and they're talking about like giving the cop a blowjob. Like there is one way we can work this out. And he's a famous actor, that guy, the cop. Yeah.
She's Googling it.
I can't.
No, I'm not. I was responding to my daughter-in-law.
I can't remember who that is. I can't remember his name, but he's been in a bunch of shit and he's hilarious. He was in Waiting. He was the cook in Waiting. It was like he's like if you got some time, play with your balls.
Oh God, what is the?
I know who you're talking about.
Now I am.
love that guy.
Now I am going to Google it.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I just don't know
His
what his
blank.
name is.
I love him though. He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like he's got such a good set. Like just how he can deliver on jokes.
I'm so happy you said he was in Waiting. So we're talking about Waiting. We mentioned Mrs. Doubtfire. Remember when we talked to Dominic? So Amanda, Dominic is a guy who was in the Army for 2 years. He comes over. He was on the show. It was probably episode 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, it was really early on. That was when we had everybody
he was in the
in the
Army
room.
for 2 years. 2-year contract.
Yeah.
He's 20. I said, "You want a beer?"
That
man?
was my
He's
look.
like,
My look right
Yeah.
there. That's exactly. I was like,
I said, "You want a beer, man?" He's like, "No, I'm good." He's got like an energy drink and a juice or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine, whatever." We get into the show and we're talking. He enlisted when he was 17, 18, and he was in for 2 fucking years. I was like, "Your career was half over when you were done with training."
I didn't even join till I was 27.
I joined
like,
it.
Fuck yeah.
I joined at 22. I turned 23 on the Crucible.
So anybody that wants free college enlist for 2 years.
Jesus.
I don't know if they get the same full benefits.
If you're active duty, yes. If you're a reservist,
I didn't
it's
think
gotta
you could
be
join.
36
Well, in
months
the
total.
Marines, they wouldn't
If
let you
you're-
join for
if
2
you're
years.
active duty and you finish the contract. So if he had signed up for a 5-year contract and got kicked out, he wouldn't get college.
Yeah.
But 2 years and you finish the contract. and you get
you
ETS,
got to also look at the times when you and I, when the 3 of us were in, there were 2 wars going on.
there weren't 2-year contracts.
There was no such thing as a 2-year
Louis
contract.
Guzman.
Louis Guzman, that's his name.
I never knew his name.
That
guy
he's
is
so
the shit.
fucking hilarious.
I
Like
him.
how he delivers on
The
jokes, and he
goats,
does.
the bat wing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, you got some time. Play with your balls. Oh, or he's like, how come you treat me like a piece of meat? Not just any piece of meat, baby. Piece of prime rib. You oozing with sexuality. And the man is very like the way he talks. You're kind of like, this is hilarious. Like it's just how he delivers that line. It is so fucking great.
I don't remember that. I got to go back and watch that scene. So he's the cop.
Yeah, he's the cop in We Are the Millers.
That's
And he's like, there's something else we could do to work this out. And I was like, I don't have any cash. I don't have, he's like, I have, take you 1,000. And he's talking, and he's like, I don't have that kind of money on me. Like, well, there's something else we could do. And so he convinces the kid to go like suck the guy's dick in the desert. And then he's like, yeah, it's either this or 1,000 pesos. He's like, oh, peso. Oh, well, that's like what, $5? Here's a 20. Keep the change. It's fucking hilarious.
I love that movie. That's funny.
That isn't even one of the best, I think, Jason Sudeikis' roles. There are some other funny ones. Like, have you seen any of the Ted Lasso shit
No.
on Apple TV? That fucking, I watch clips on YouTube all the time. I'm like, fuck, I love that. It's hilarious.
I was like, do you know what he's talking about?
Mm, yeah.
Ted Lasso?
Yeah, Ted Lasso, he's like this American football coach, like college, like very Southern college football coach who somehow becomes a Premier League soccer coach in England.
Is this like a legit thing?
It's a TV show. Yeah, it's an actual, it's called Ted Lasso. It just came out. It was nominated for like in whatever, a Globe or an Emmy
So-
or whatever.
so you
Watch
mentioned-
a lot of TV.
It's fucking hilarious though.
So you mentioned that and HBO and stuff. And I remember back when I was at Fort Polk, me and my buddy Matt, we found Danny McBride's Eastbound and Down.
I fucking
That's
love.
the one thing on HBO. In fact, I think I actually own season 1 and season 2 on Apple TV.
I fucking
bought it.
love Eastbound and Down. That shit was hilarious.
Have you ever
Well-
seen it? Do you know Danny McBride?
No, I know the name. I don't know why.
So have you ever seen
Pineapple Express. Anything with pretty much Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of things with Seth.
This Is the End. You ever seen This Is the End, where it's the end of the world? So
Yeah.
the one that nobody wants in the house,
Yes.
that's Danny McBride. Is that
Okay,
character?
Okay.
Well, they all play themselves, kind of.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
fucking Danny's here. What the fuck did you say?
That's a good reference because what I was gonna use was what's the one with dang, can't think of their names. The Lonely Island,
It's Andy Samberg.
Yeah, Andy Samberg and his. I don't know.
I can't remember the other two guys' names.
Well, the other guy, but it's he plays a stuntman. Oh fuck, man, can't remember the name of the movie now.
Tropic Thunder.
Nope. Andy Samberg wants to follow in his father's footsteps and be a stuntman.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking. The only one I know about was the Adam Sandler movie where Andy Samberg is like the well-rounded kid who grew up, and his dad's still like Adam Sandler, who is like the same character in every movie. I mean, I loved Waterboy when it came out. I loved Big Daddy, and then I realized, all right, these are the same. Like, you're literally the same person.
Hot Rod. Much. God damn it.
Oh yeah, Hot Rod. I didn't see that.
You never saw Hot Rod?
Never saw Hot Rod.
Oh, that is gold. So
you and I have different comedic movies, though. Are you into movies?
Depends.
What's your favorite movie?
Absolute favorite. Oh.
I've got a lot.
Okay, so there's two movies I can't live without.
What are those movies?
Breakfast at Tiffany's and White Christmas.
Love White Christmas. Fucking every Christmas we watch it in this house.
Those are
sister. Yeah, I love it, man. Fucking love it. Bing Crosby and
God,
and it's so cheesy. Like once you grow up, you look at it and you're like, it's a fucking cheesy ass movie. Like I grew up watching it as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, and it's one of those things that my family always watched as
my kids are into it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Like my niece and nephew are into it every Christmas. I love it. Like we watch it every year for Christmas. There are 3 movies we watch at Christmas time. So night of Thanksgiving, we always watch Christmas in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. And then when it's like Christmas Eve or whatever, we watch White Christmas. Yep. And then if we have time during Christmas Day, we'll watch It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's it. So I love my old movies too.
October.
Breakfast at Tiffany's is okay.
Maybe October not 1st. Maybe November 1st. The Christmas movies come on.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Greatest Christmas movies.
Toya she'll put on The Grinch.
Die Hard better be in this list. And it is a fucking Christmas movie.
So I don't know if Die Hard is in the list for her. It's in the list for me.
It's a fucking Christmas movie.
It's included.
When my wife agrees,
it's understood.
My wife has a huge crush on Bruce Willis and always has.
I'll argue with my son because he's like, Die Hard's a Christmas movie. And I'm like, you're 11. You don't know what a Christmas movie is.
Have you ever seen The Ref with Dennis Leary? Fucking love that as a Christmas movie. Like me, my sister, my aunt will be like, once everyone kind of goes to bed, if the 3 of us are still up and drinking, we're like, let's watch it. Because we'll stay up and like drink, the 3 of us, and we will put on The Ref. And that movie's fucking great. It's got Kevin Spacey and Dennis Leary. My wife hates it. Love you, darling. Oh, you can see the door close on the video. She doesn't want to be on. Yeah, we have all the dogs.
Every single one. Every single dog.
Well, you woke Max up. Nice job.
Max always looks so concerned.
He was abused as a puppy.
Yeah,
I have to say that every time. I feel so bad for him.
Is like a combination of Max and RBFS.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
Like when he hears a noise, like a leaf literally blew behind him yesterday while he was outside, and he took off running.
Oh, that's not how my dogs are.
And he like tail tucked between his legs, and then he comes right back to you behind you, and he's like looking around the back of your legs, like,
"Where's the leaf?
Is everything okay?"
Where's Nugget chases after?
My dogs could never go
literally. I
be rehomed because they're not used to people. I live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
you come to my house.
We know bun level.
You come to my house.
It's like saying, like, I live up in Bahama.
Sorry, my dogs are going to kill you because I don't know you.
What's the name of the small Saxmapaw? Is the
Saxpaha?
Saxpaha. That's it.
That's
people like, is that a real town? I'm like,
yes.
Yeah,
and I never knew it till I worked in Mebane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Saxpaha. I always say it wrong. I've got to think about it. Is that where you're from?
I loved going through there in Swepsonville.
Yep.
I loved going through there, and I love that gas station.
Greatest town in North Carolina? Bat Cave.
There's a town called
Bat Cave up towards Asheville.
Well, you have just changed everything, sir.
I thought though
you have.
Isn't there a town called Love?
For this week.
I think
It's
so.
like 100 people and no cars are allowed. It's all horse and.
I've heard of that town. I've never been there.
Yeah,
I've seen signs
you're
for
not
it.
allowed to drive into the town. You have to park outside of the town, and you can get a horse and drive in, ride in.
I need
Or you can
to
walk.
clear my schedule this week.
It's about 4.5 hours away because it's right before you go up Black
I have
Mountain
some things to do.
to go to Bat Cave. You're going to Bat Cave?
Batcave.
I'm scared of what Batcave
Love.
is.
Actually, there's not a lot in Bat Cave. There's not. I don't even know if there's actual caves up there.
Have you ever
Oh, that
been there?
sucks.
I've passed through it. I've never actually you see signs for it when you're going up. So if you get on 40, you go up towards Asheville, right before you start going up Black Mountain, you'll start to see signs for Bat Cave.
Okay. So you're going to Batcave, you're going to Love. Where else are you going?
And you got Old Fort. You ever been to Old Fort at the base of Black Mountain?
Why should I go?
Actually, Old Fort's a pretty cool little
Aren't
old
most of
timey
those
town.
places around the mountain all dry county?
Not anymore. Jackson County stopped being dry when I turned 21. I was like, this sucks. I'm in a dry county. And then like 3 months later, it was no longer a dry
No,
county.
Marion's a dry county.
No, I don't think they are
Or
anymore.
are they change? Did they change it?
I don't think there are that many dry counties in North Carolina anymore.
I'm trying to think. I know.
Well, the thing is, there's still dry counties, but there's still ABC stores in those counties.
No, ABC stores in the towns.
But they're
But once you
within the
leave
county
city
lines.
limits,
Yeah, they're not out.
You can't. The gas stations don't sell. Wine
Well, yeah,
or
that's
beer.
so that's because it's a control state here,
hmm
and the liquor
This is
laws
the
here.
weirdest state I've ever lived in. Honestly.
The liquor laws here are fucking stupid.
I don't know. I love Texas. Like they have Twin Liquors and I forget what. The
Shit,
other
dude!
one's
In New
called.
Orleans, you can drive
go-
through and get a daiquiri.
Yeah. Well, you
That's how Wyoming is. They've got drive-through liquor stores. You drive through, and the bar's right there on the other side. And they're like, "Hey, what? While you're giving me my order, go ahead and grab me a."
Well, we have brew-throughs here in North Carolina,
this-
but they don't serve you open drinks like they do at daiquiri stores.
Well, it wasn't until not too long ago where
Texas has
Colorado
those.
and Wyoming made it to where drinking and driving was actually illegal.
Yeah.
But you could still have open containers. You used to be able to drink and drive in Wyoming and Colorado.
Yep.
And it was just a few years ago where they changed it to
So-
where the
so in-
driver can't be drinking.
in Germany, you were allowed to drink as long as you weren't the person behind the wheel. But that is fucking insane.
Yeah, as long as you weren't
In New
drunk,
Orleans,
were
you can
allowed to
go
drink.
through. You can go up through a drive-through into a daiquiri shop.
That's,
Get a
they got the-
styrofoam daiquiri,
Yeah.
like not in a seal and with a straw.
Yeah.
And you can drive off.
That's they got those all over Texas. That's why I said
Yeah.
I love Texas. They have those, and then Twin Liquors and the other liquor stores. They're not ABC stores.
Yeah, this
They're
is
not-
the only
they're
state I've
private.
been where
So
there's
there are
ABC
only a
stores.
handful of control states. There's
So you
this,
go in-
Alabama. Look, I worked in the liquor world for a long time. So Alabama, Arkansas,
Yeah,
North
yeah.
Carolina. They're all southern states.
You have to name them
believe it.
all, otherwise you fail.
I'm trying to remember them all. I think Tennessee is a control state, but they're not as strict as we are.
I-
So here in North Carolina, part of your tax dollars in the state budget goes to buying liquor for all of the stores.
Part.
No, it does. That's where
Well, yeah, but I actually go and purchase it. So there's part, and then there's also.
You're
that.
double
Yeah,
tapping.
you're
Yeah.
double. You essentially pay for booze
So next
twice.
time I go, I should just be like, I paid my taxes.
I
and
already
walk
paid
out.
my taxes. I'm walking out.
I'm good. I paid my taxes.
There's I think it's like a 600,000 square foot warehouse that's since 70% empty in Garner. That's the ABC. That's the state run liquor warehouse. They lost, I think 4 or 5 years ago, they lost like $100 million in liquor in the liquor world here, which is insane because that doesn't ever happen. Like you see growth in the liquor
I
world.
was going to say, how did they do that?
Yeah, exactly.
The
Because
only
it's the
thing
government
I can
running it.
Yeah.
I know
The-
more
the-
people
yeah,
who
because
drink
the only
nonstop
reason-
in North Carolina
This is
than I've
the
ever
only
been
reason.
anywhere
So
else.
first of all, I stay involved in a lot of because I worked in the liquor world for a long time. First off, there was this guy they interviewed when they were talking about privatization most recently, which was like maybe 2 years ago. And he was like, "Oh, people think that we'll get more variety of liquor in here. We won't. That's not how it works." And I'm like, "It's exactly how it works. That's how suppliers work. They're going to spend their limited. They're going to take the limited resources they have and go into areas where they know they're
Mhm.
making money already. If they're not making money here, they're not going to send Pappy here. Like in New Orleans, Colorado,
Mhm.
Virginia, or Virginia is also a control state. Well, kind of a control state, but like finding Buffalo Trace, which is very common, it doesn't run out in Louisiana, Texas, Colorado. Here, it's like, oh my God, I found Buffalo Trace. It's like, why the fuck wouldn't we have it here? Well, because it's limited for Sazerac to make, and they're not going to spend the money on it because their portfolio isn't really that well represented in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And when you walk into a liquor store, there's really only 4 or 5 portfolios, 4 or 5 companies represented in the government-run ABC stores: Brown-Forman, Jim Beam, Pernod Ricard, and Diageo. That makes up 90% of what you can buy. 95% of what you can buy in the ABC store are those companies.
And that's probably because as a government-run entity, the ABC stores have the agreements and the contracts as one. So
no, so those suppliers who own those portfolios have the money because they are large enough corporate. So Beam Suntory is the largest alcohol supplier in the world. They own Knob Creek, Jim Beam, Basil Hayden's, the Kuiper. They own a fuck ton of stuff.
Yeah,
like a fuck ton.
Yeah,
and so they can go into a control state and profit, still like not lose money and make a profit here because they have enough volume of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a private person, like if I went out tomorrow and started a distillery in the state of North Carolina, I would pretty much lose money. Yeah. I would not make a profit because I would not be able to get
you need to talk
my
to Eric
brand
Tansey.
out there. Huh?
You need to talk to Eric Tansey.
I have no idea who the fuck that is.
He started the Instill Distillery in Clayton.
I worked at a distiller and I worked for a liquor distributor.
He used to be a police officer in Raleigh.
Yeah.
But he's...
Is he a veteran?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he's a...
He's a veteran. He should come on this show.
I'm not sure if he's a veteran or not. I know one of the guys that as a co-owner is military.
But I cannot see...
He lost his job with the Raleigh Police Department because he opened the distillery. He just got it. He's got him... They're selling it in the liquor stores, some of them, but down in Florida.
So here's the crazy thing of why I think the state law is the way it is here and they haven't changed. Well, first of all, I think it's going to change on the next long session, which is like 3-4 years away.
The next what?
Long session. So we have our state legislature has regular sessions and then they have every, I think it's like 6 or 7 years, they do what's called a long session. It's weird. I believe you. But the rural areas like Nash County, Jackson County, some of the only state jobs in those counties is the ABC store. So if the state of North Carolina were to privatize,
people would lose jobs.
You would essentially, those state jobs in those very rural areas. So this very small percentage of population is keeping this control state belief alive. Because they would lose their state jobs. I see where
you're coming from, but I like what he's talking about because they wouldn't lose jobs. They would just go work for a private company who can now bring in like the liquor stores.
Yeah,
in
they
Texas.
wouldn't have, but they wouldn't have. So here's the thing: when you lose a state job, so this first of all, the state would make a fuck ton of money, but the people in those smaller rural areas, they would lose all the benefits that come along from having a state job. Now they could go and open up their own liquor store if we privatized. They could go work and open up their own liquor store.
They could open their own,
but they would
work at one.
There would be no guarantee of having those benefits and those long-term things to really kind of support those rural
working
economies.
For the state's not all that great.
It's not. My mom worked for him for 25 years.
You pay a higher tax bracket working just as an employee.
Really, the only benefit you get is you get to be a part of the state employees credit union.
No, they don't.
Well,
state doesn't pay more.
On average?
No.
Nope. They don't.
It's a government job. You get more in the private sector. My mom, the only reason my mom worked for the state for as long as she did, once she passed a certain point, she's like, I'm going to get sweet retirement benefits.
Right.
And then I'm going to go into the private sector, get my state retirement and still collect on it. And then go make 6 times more than what I made.
That's about the main
in the
reason
private sector.
Why people really want state jobs, especially if they came from the active duty military. If you ever were employed for the federal government, whatever you acquired for your retirement gets added on to the state.
To the state.
Well, I know about that, but my argument for privatizing the
Liquor,
stores
absolutely. The state would earn so much more money in revenue and in taxes
from taxes
than they do now. They lose money in alcohol right now
because the ABC stores in North Carolina are limited to what they sell.
Yeah,
which is primarily liquor.
That's all they sell is liquor.
Exactly. Whereas in Texas, if you walk in a liquor store, number one, the Twin Liquors and the other one, I can't remember what it was called, but it was right on the expressway. Yeah. They were the size of fucking Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they sell beer.
Colorado,
they sell liquor, they sell beer, they sell wine,
Colorado
they sell cheese.
Yeah, so Colorado had
caviar, cigars, sushi,
Apple Jacks, and then something Brothers. And they held the Guinness Book of World Records for the 2 largest liquor stores in the world. Because when you walked into Apple Jacks was the size of like a Harris Teeter, I would say. Like it was like going into a Harris Teeter. All they sold was beer, wine, and liquor. And that was it. There was no food. There was nothing. And the amount of stuff that they were able to get was insane because of how much money they spent on these portfolios.
You'd see people walking out with cartfuls.
Yeah.
Cartfuls.
So when I worked in the liquor world, we did in one day at fiscal close at Applejack Liquors, I dropped something like 35,000 cases in one day to Applejack liquor stores. 35,000 or 3,500. 35,000? It's like 8 years ago. I can't remember. I dropped basically.
It was really 35.
It was, well, no, it was an 53-foot trailer filled with wine and then 3 box trucks, 22-foot box trucks behind that. And yeah, it was a lot. It was a fuck ton of liquor going to one liquor. That's a lot.
And see, I don't like how the restaurants have to go through the ABC to order their alcohol.
Yep. That's the other thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of
So I worked for a restaurant. And I'm not going to name drop because they're a piece of shit, but
as most restaurants are. I'm just kidding.
Well, there's 2 backstories there, but they sent me over because they trusted me and whatnot, and there was some discrepancy or we ran low or whatever. So they're like, "Here's a check. You just when you go over there, you hand it to them. You sign this, blah blah blah." And so I went around the corner, the Wake County, whatever the fuck. And I bought it and I got it on the cart and whatnot. But I mean, just compare North Carolina to Texas or controlled state to any not controlled state. The volume, the availability, the selection, the revenue, it's completely different. It's like black and white.
North Carolina, if you did not have North Carolina, if you just had private companies in North Carolina would not be spending any of its money on in anything in liquor. There would be nothing. It would be a straight profit stream for them. They would be taxing the big companies. There would be big companies that would come in here. You would have your Republic Nationals, your Southern Glazers.
You would have your smaller ones too.
You would also, yeah. I mean, you might have Breakthrough. You can still keep certain things the same. Like you can keep North Carolina as a franchise state, which I would be fine with. And a franchise state means that if I'm a supplier and you're Republic National and you're Southern Glazers and I am, Jim Beam, if I sign with you at Republic National for Beam Suntory, that was very loud. If I sign with you, then I'm with you until forever, unless we put something in the contract. Like I can't pull out from you and go to them.
Okay.
You are my sole representative in the state of North Carolina.
I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah.
But I just believe, I mean, I agree with you. I think there's a lot more money in it.
There's a lot
more
money.
Flexibility. And
you get a lot, and the people in North Carolina get a lot more variety in what they can get.
Or I feel like
because then you can open yourself up to be like, hey, I'm going to go to this private distributor who's got nationwide contracts and say, hey, can you guys get me this really rare alcohol, this really rare. So one of my favorite bourbons is Mary Jane out of Brooklyn, New York. And it's 12-year-old bourbon and it is fucking good. And it's not like a $300 bottle of bourbon. It's like maybe $60, $70, but it is a good sipping bourbon that will last you a good time, like a good while. And it's worth the money. It's really, really good. And you're not going to find that here. I could get it in Louisiana, no problem. Like I could go into a liquor store and say, hey, can you guys get this? And they'd be like, well, we don't have it, but I can order it for you. And they would be able to bring it in.
Yeah.
And because they would go to their supplier or their distributor and say, this is what one of my customers want. Can you get it? And they'd be able to get it.
Yeah. So what I heard you just say is hotels, restaurants, private parties and private kitchens, residents can gain access to things we wouldn't normally have access to, causing us to spend more money on those things.
Like I have no idea.
Which are taxed. So we're going from this, kind of plateaued, steady line of alcohol purchasing to an increase, in addition to any other sundries they decide to sell. Like I said, the ones in Texas did cheese, wine, cigars, caviar, whereas right now we're just kind of right here. And also, I mean, ABC stores are not showing much indication for expansion. So they're not opening a strip mall or warehouse size retail front.
Absolutely not.
So they're not hiring more people. The one guy retires, they hire a new person.
Well, they get a license. I will say the one thing they did, and I think it was like last year or 2 years ago, is we used to have, so there are 100 counties in North Carolina. That's how many counties we have. They used to have like 140 ABC licenses, which means we had more ABC commissions than we actually had licenses. So North Carolina passed a law that says we're only going to have one commission per county. So we went down to 100 commissions. So there's one commission for every county.
Yeah.
And the county basically runs their local. So if you live in Nash County, there's one ABC store for out there. Or not one ABC, but there's one commission for out there. And they oversee how many licenses and ABC stores they have in that county. It is insane. Insane. So, all right.
So I texted her a picture of me and Max.
Who? LaToya?
And she said, well, your asshole dog got his leash stuck on a branch out back, so he cannot use the bathroom until you come home and untangle it.
Well, you don't have to worry about that with Max. Max does not run anywhere.
Well, we need to get his balls cut off, but
don't forget to have your pet spayed and neutered.
Yeah. But she deals with which I do, I think everybody deals with a certain level of stress as it relates to pets. So I haven't talked to her about it, but I think we might still be on the fence as far as children. Because I just see her texting me in tears, like, this isn't working. I don't know, until the child can walk and manage itself a little bit.
The baby years are the easiest.
Yeah.
I have 4 kids and 3 grandkids.
So my
You're
little
not
sister,
old enough to have grandkids.
I agree with that.
How do you have grandkids at 42?
I was a month before I turned 17 is when I had
Hold
my
on,
oldest
you're
son.
42. Something's not adding up.
You're like
42. How long were you in the Army?
I joined at 27 and just got out 2 years.
2 years ago. Oh, so
14 years.
okay. I think. All right.
Is that up now?
Well, I just thought because you said Iraq and that you went in.
I joined
like
in 2005. I landed in Iraq in 2006.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
redeployed back home in 2008.
I enlisted in 05. Okay.
07 is when I enlisted.
Mm-hmm. But he had to wait for stuff.
Oh yeah, I had pot in my system.
Stuff.
I had weed. Wasn't allowed to talk to him. I was tripping balls when I took my ASVAB though.
Probably made you score higher.
I got 98 on it.
There you go.
Booyah!
So you had.
I also had three and a half years of college under my belt.
Oh,
my recruiter was like, "You sure you just don't want to like stay for your last year and just be an officer?" I was like, "No, you don't understand the other dynamics I have going on in this town that required me to get the fuck out of here."
I was a paramedic in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I literally walked out of my job, packed all my stuff up, I had 3 kids at that time, packed all their stuff up. We moved back to Kansas, staying at my house in Kansas. And I'm like sitting there trying to figure out what my next move's going to be because I was just burned out. And I go Christmas shopping and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I want to be PSYOP. I'm going to go. They were assholes to me.
Wait, you knew you went in wanting to be PSYOP?
Mhm.
Like you knew?
I knew what I wanted to do.
Like I knew what I wanted to do, but I had no idea about like that side of the military. Like there's some small stuff in the military that I was like, when I went in, I was like, I had no idea this was like one of the things my recruiter tried to tell me was like, man, you should really look at like being an NBC specialist. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like working for like the Olympics or something? Like being a cameraman? What the fuck are you talking about? It's like, no. It's like something biological. Nuclear, biological,
chemical, which they changed.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
And I was
they
like,
added letters.
I was like,
Oh, God.
I don't know what the fuck that does. And he's like, basically, you get all this knowledge to go, like, we train you and all of this stuff. And then when you leave in 4 years or 8 years or however long you do, you will go get a job easily in 6 figures, like out the gate.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't want that.
I wish I had known that because we made fun of our NBC people.
All of the NBC
The only NBC people I ever ran
work for anything like that.
The only NBC people I ever
civilian.
ran into were the guys who ran the gas chamber. Those are the only guys I ever ran into.
Yeah, but
Your supply has NBC there.
So our headquarters unit had NBC, Commo,
nope,
you know, all that.
Not in our headquarters unit.
Everybody that fell under S4 was generally your supply, your logistics.
So we had a battalion S4, and a battalion S4 just went to regiment.
And the people that were under it, that worked in his shop.
There were only like 3 guys that worked in that shop.
One of them was the one that handled all your NBC, the gas mask fittings and all that.
That was all done on another place. That was not done. We had to go check that out from division.
Really?
Yeah, that was not done at the battalion level. So my battalion S4 guys, there were literally, I think, like 3 or 4 guys in that shop. And I don't know what their MLS was, but they basically like fielded all the requests up to either regiment or division to get stuff for us.
Mm.
But most of our stuff, we had to go somewhere else to go get. Like, so our gas masks, when we had to check out our gas masks, we didn't even check them out from a Marine. I mean, I thought it was SIF that we were checking them out from because it was right behind SIF, which was
civilians.
Yeah, and it was a civilian woman who like tried this on. Okay, that looks like it fits. You're good. Sign this out.
But that was for deployment, though, right?
No, that was my gas mask that I had for the entire 4 years.
Wow.
That was like that was.
Don't they expire?
Yeah.
Don't the
the canisters expire.
We could get new canisters, but like that was my gas mask.
And they have to be inspected for cracks and leaks and all.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I
never did that. Never had to go.
So first, we got assigned our gas mask at each unit. I think you were in the same unit the whole time.
Yeah.
So I was
every time you checked in and out of a unit, you had to go get.
So I would get a gas mask at each unit. Yeah. But then when I was at Fort Hood, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but
no, like you had paperwork, so you went into this
unsecured,
place.
unattended. So,
but hey, I don't know what you're talking about. According to my clothing personnel record, all my stuff was turned in, even though it's sitting in my closet.
Yeah, I got some stuff that I turned in that is still sitting upstairs in my attic.
Yeah, the flak.
The one thing I'm really upset that I didn't get my hands on was the Big Bear sleeping system.
Yes, the 3-in-1. That's what I called it.
The wearable sleeping system, which I fucking loved.
They're too hot.
Fuck no, not in the middle of winter in Afghanistan.
I'm having a heat stroke as it is now.
Shit.
I can't handle North Carolina, but those sleep systems
they were awesome. They were they had the hood and I never wore the booties. Maybe that's why I never got too overly hot because the booties you couldn't walk in.
I'm in Australia for wintertime. Didn't know their July was our winter. I was ignorant. Yeah, I know. Imagine that.
Southern Hemisphere.
60 degrees during the day, so I didn't think it was going to drop down below freezing at night.
Oh, it does.
With a bunch of Marines.
It's
in
a
A-frame
desert.
tents
That's what people think.
on
Think about
top
the desert.
of concrete. And I mean, it was below freezing, no electricity, and I'm in there with my one shell of my sleeping bag, and I'm freezing my butt off. Some girl from the National Guard was staying in the barracks, and she was talking about a blow dryer. One of the Marines gave her $80 for her blow dryer, and they got a bunch of extension cords and ran it up to where we got the coffee and stuff. And we had one blow dryer that we'd blow in each other's sleeping bag.
I can't listen to Foreigner's Cold as Ice song without screaming, "Fuck you, Nurko." So every night we had to wake up and go on a patrol, like a night patrol or an OP or something. It'd be freezing cold, like freezing fucking cold. And I don't know what it was about this machine gunner. He's a buddy of mine. He's a funny guy. Little short dude, stocky little short, just funny motherfucker. And we called him Nurko. And nobody, like, they'd pop their head in and be like, "Hey, third squad, fucking get up. We guys start getting ready." No one would move except for Nurko.
Because you didn't want to get
Because you didn't want, everybody was up. It's just you were like in your sleeping system. You're like, "Nope, fuck this. It's too cold." And Nurko would just get the fuck up and he'd go over to the iPod dock and he'd throw on Cold as Ice and he'd blare it. So now, whenever I hear that song, and we would throw shit at him for this. We'd be like, "Fuck you!" Like, ah.
And all he did was chuckle.
Yeah, he would just laugh. He'd be like, "Come on, guys, let's get motivated. Woo!" And I was just like, "Fuck you, Nurko." But every time I hear that song now, that's my PTS. Like, I'm just like, I'm freezing again. So I cannot listen to Foreigner's Cold as Ice. Cannot do it. It comes on the radio. My wife's like, oh shit, and she's trying to turn it off before I start screaming. So
I have no idea what you're saying.
Cold as Ice by Foreigner. You're as cold as ice.
No, I know that song,
Okay.
but
You don't know what it's like to be in the middle of the night freezing your ass off.
It got cold in Iraq, man, at night.
And Afghanistan.
Well, yeah, Afghanistan, but that was different. Like, it was weird because in the wintertime in Iraq, well, when I
had snow once in Iraq.
You were there for April then. That April or February? Was it February?
February?
I had snow once.
My commanding
in Iraq.
officer was there doing a leader's recon. And he got snowed on, and we were all back at Lejeune laughing hysterically.
What?
Because he was making us do all this hot training. And he was
it's so hot. And then once the sun drops, it goes from 115 sweating your ass off outside.
In the summer, it's nice. Like in August, it goes from like 120 degrees down to like 100 at night. And
you're freezing though.
But you're freezing.
Because it's a sudden drop.
Yeah. Where towards the end of my deployment, like October, November, it'd be like 90 degrees during the day. And you'd be like, oh man, this is very refreshing. Like 90 to 100 degrees. And then all of a sudden night would come and it would drop down to like 70.
Yep.
And you were sitting there just like,
you would have your fleece on and anything else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'd have a beanie on. You'd be sitting there just like sitting on post and like you'd look at the temperature, it'd be like 75 degrees. And you're like,
and everybody's like,
what the fuck am I cold for?
Yeah.
Because when the sun goes down, the fucking heat leaves. Yeah. Like, because there's nothing retaining it in. It just fucking evaporates.
I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, I can't wait to go back to North Carolina. And then once I'm back in North Carolina, I'm like,
I want to go.
I don't want to be here.
And yet, here you are.
How did you end up in Bun fucking Level?
I used to live in Vass, and my landlords found out that they could start making more money instead of the $850 I was paying. They found out that they could make $1,800.
Sure. Where?
Vass, out towards Southern Pines, because
Why
of
does
all
she
the
keep making
SF
up
guys.
places?
You find these smallest fucking towns in North Carolina.
You drive through Vass.
She's like,
on
what's your
690.
population? 100? Yeah, I'll live there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you have less than
whatever.
You have less than 150 people.
There's an exit sign for it.
There's an exit sign for a bad cave. It doesn't mean it's got a huge population of people.
But I used to live in Vass. Landlords were like, we're going to raise it. Well, being stuck on Fort Bragg and over at USASOC and KPOC and...
You really find the smallest towns that you can think of. Like these
I
are
grew
like
up in a small town.
this is like all.
Where did you grow
So
up?
we call
Council
these
Grove, Kansas.
we call these.
Council Grove, Kansas.
So I don't know if they're so these areas are like unincorporated.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not fucking
Bass
towns.
has a gas station.
It doesn't matter.
they've
That's not an incorporated city.
They used to have a Piggly Wiggly. I think it's a Carly.
Dude,
Caesar.
Roxborough is an incorporated small town. Like it's incorporated. Doesn't have a welcome sign. You know how you get to Roxborough? You drive past the John Deere tractor dealership. Like you're like, yep, we in Roxborough now. And Roxborough is weird because it's like the only place that regularly gets hit with snow. It's just right on the Virginia border. It's where my dad grew up. And it is a small
I can
farming
tell you
town.
exactly how to get
So
there.
my brother lives in Prospect Hill, which is slightly to the
Yeah.
It sounds
guess
like it's supposed to be a
west.
gold mining community.
of. You would think so.
You'd think so.
Uh,
That's like saying Rougemont is a town. Rougemont, it's not. It's yeah, they have a welcome sign, but they're unincorporated.
she's having it.
She's chasing them rabbits. Let her chase them rabbits.
Is she
But no,
chasing them or is
The
she
chasing
landlord
rabbits.
wanted more money. I was like, I can't do it. And I ran into one of the guys from third group, and he's like, "Hey, we just bought a house."
So
I
Come
feel
over,
like you
take
take
a
a
look.
dart. You take a dart to a map of North Carolina, and you're just like,
That's actually how I ended up in Colorado.
she was aiming for North Carolina.
No, I was like, get me the hell out
fuck.
of the state. I was freshly divorced and I lost my house to a fire. And I'm like, I need
Oh,
a
Jesus.
vacation through it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Longmont. And Longmont's a small town.
I used to travel to
Longmont.
Colorado all the
Yeah,
time.
Longmont, Colorado. I mean, it's not like
How long
tiny,
did
but
you
it's a
live
nice
there?
little town.
I lived in Colorado from 2001 to 2000 and almost 2003. And then I went to Cheyenne.
Oh, okay. So before the
Wyoming's
military.
beautiful too.
I
What
love
made
Wyoming.
you? I'm bouncing around here, but what made you at 27? Like, I'm going to join the army.
I was literally, I said earlier, I was like, I walked out of my job being
Okay.
a paramedic. I
No.
got fed up. I walked out, packed our stuff up, drove back to Kansas. Nobody knew. None of my friends, they like show up to the house I was at and it's empty.
I'm going to keep the story at I was a bored 22-year-old. That's my story.
We know
Right.
that. That's interesting because she was 27, you were 22, I was 18, and the only reason I was 18 is because I graduated when I was 17. I thought that I couldn't enlist right then, so the day after I graduated high school, I moved to Pennsylvania to work a job. I moved back after the summer. I went to college for a year and worked cashier or whatever the fuck. And then I'd always thought about it. My brother-in-law, dating my sister at the time, hey, come on down. You know, it was I think, line of happy coincidences.
Mhm.
Because he wasn't supposed to be at the recruiting station. But his drill sergeant sent him on convalescent leave with uniforms, not knowing how it worked. So they must have been new. Because he didn't have, you know how you enlist and you can get like recruiting duty for 2 weeks?
That's a thing.
Yeah, so
Recruiter's assistants.
yeah. So you go to basic. For me, it would have been basic and AIT because it was
You get
OC.
boot leave.
Then you go home for 2 weeks. Then the next 2 weeks, you're still home, but you work in the recruiting station.
You're TAD. You be
Yeah.
TAD. So I had a buddy of mine who, when we came home from
That's how I
Afghanistan,
ended up in the army.
went to TAD as a recruiter's assistant. And he was like, because it's something usually only boots do, but he was like, I want to be home for a little while longer. Because you don't use leave, you're literally TAD. So he was like, I'm going to go do this so I can stay home for a little while long. He fucking hated it. He's like,
So-
first of all,
Yeah.
I know people. who
I'm
said that
a
they had
Lance
to-
corporal and my stack is bigger than everybody I work with. And they're all fucking sergeants, staff sergeants and above.
Yep.
And he's like, this is bullshit. And then he's like, I got to deal with 18-year-old kids who are coming in. He's like, I'm really good at Call of Duty. And my response to them is like, good, go get shot in the fucking face because there's no fucking restart button. Like, he'd be like, the fuckers that come into these things are idiots.
So I
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if in the army you can do it after your permanent party, but in transition,
You can always
So-
be TAD somewhere, but
You can put in for recruiter duties, or if you're a reservist, you can put in for.
well, that's what I'm saying.
AGR.
Like for us, it would just be if you put in for recruiting duty.
Yeah.
So So it wouldn't be TDY necessarily. We call it TDY,
Right.
temporary duty.
So,
But
we've I've got to wrap this up because I got to get down to my.
you got a 5-year-old to attend to.
I got a 5-year-old I got to go attend to. 5-year-old birthday party.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
And I got a little boy at home who's going to be like, Mom, make the ham.
Same.
I'm gonna get cake. Apparently, we're having frozen cake.
Frozen cake? You mean ice cream
Have
cake?
they
No, like a
considered-
cake from what, like the characters of Frozen.
Let
it go.
the
Let
movie.
it go.
It didn't say, you just said apparently I'm getting
Were they-
frozen cake. To me, that
is
sounds
the
like it's a
5-year-old
frozen cake.
A little girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she is.
I don't know why.
It'd be
but
fine if she was a boy too.
I mean,
Boys can like Frozen. Don't fucking put people into you fucking misogynist.
He likes Frozen.
I've never actually seen Frozen, but I actually know all the words to the music in
It's
Frozen.
his favorite movie.
Are we talking about there's a porn remake of Frozen, right?
I
that's
like
what we're talking-
Olaf.
I don't even know who Olaf. Olaf's the
Snowman.
there you go.
If you ever get around to watching it, they sing a song, or Olaf sings a song
Yes.
about summer.
Mm-hmm.
That is my favorite fucking part of that movie.
I've never seen the movie.
Well, now you need to watch it.
He
You have a
says-
homework assignment.
Winter's a good time to stay in and cuddle, but put me in summer and I'll be a
Puddle.
happy snowman.
Mm-hmm.
See? Yeah. Favorite fucking song of that movie. Fuck yeah. Yeah. See, I was just making fun of you, but I've actually seen the damn movie.
You need help, sir. You need help.
Why is that not funny? A snowman singing a song about summer
And they don't
'Cause
want to
he's-
tell him that he's going to melt.
because he's never experienced it. And the guy, I forget, the prince
Sven.
or whatever.
Sven?
Sure.
Where's
He's like,
that
I'm
from?
going to tell him. She's like, don't tell him.
Like, yeah. Truth hurts, bud.
I'm going to tell him. Don't tell him.
Jesus. Ugh.
Yeah. Jesus.
Hey, everyone. Thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Joe.
My name is Ryan.
Please don't forget to click that like button. We can be found on anywhere you get your podcast. And also, don't forget to go down below and click the link for Soldier Girl Coffee.
This is the Veteran Talk Show. If you or someone you love is suffering as a victim of sexual harassment, sexual assault, needs help with addiction and recovery, or mental health and well-being, then please go to veterantalkshow.com/resources. This show is hosted, produced, and edited by Ryan Smelt. Our co-host is Joe Ballack, and guest starring veterans.